Thank you, Sect Master Yi. All the cultivators from various sects bowed respectfully to Yi Feng. If it hadn't been for Yi Feng's brave intervention today, their cultivation careers would have come to an abrupt end, and their hearts were now filled with gratitude. Sect Master Yi, thank you for saving our lives. Here are 100 lower-grade spirit stones. I hope you will accept them. I have 50 spirit stones here as well. This sect leader has a bottle of lower-grade cultivation chi pills. The dozen or so sect leaders in attendance all took out the valuable possessions they had on them as a token of gratitude for Yi Feng saving their lives. Yi Feng wasn't pretentious and gladly accepted them. Our Falling Mountain sect will no longer compete for this spirit mine. We concede it to Sect Master Yi and the Misty sect. The Feathers sect won't compete either. After this crisis, I've realized the horrors of cultivation. Fearing that I might not have descendants to carry on, when I return, I will find a match and marry a wife to calm my nerves. Farewell, everyone. Having sustained various injuries, the members of the sects were in a hurry to return and recuperate, and they quickly left the valley. Everyone, I won't see you off, Sect Master Yi said. Yi Feng waved his hand at the crowd. Long Tianxing, seeing everyone else had left, jumped 3 feet high with excitement and said to Yi Feng, Sect leader, the spirit mine is all ours now. Yi Feng walked over, placed his hand on Long Tianxing's head and said, Don't get carried away. Oh, and since I can't cast spells, you will use Earth Escape to delve into the ruins and try to clear out the spirit mine before the end of the day. Okay, the disciples nodded in agreement. Afterward, Yi Feng collected all the formation flags, cleaned up the battlefield, and then led his disciples back into the tunnel, descending once again 300 meters below the surface. However, the cavern containing the spirit mine had been sealed off due to the collapse of the ruins, and Yi Feng couldn't enter. Let me go first. Shilei was the first to step forward, taking out the mysterious turtle shield given to him by Yi Feng and patting Long Tianxing's shoulder. Junior brother Long, you have better eyesight. Come with me. You got it. Long Tianxing, lively and restless by nature, was only too eager to comply. Soon the two of them used the first-grade spell, Earth Escape, blending into the surroundings like a sack of salt dissolving in a lake. Let's go in too, Mo Ying said. Hearing this, the other disciples all nodded their heads. Though Mo Ying was only the 4th disciple, she was the strongest among the top 10 disciples of the Misty sect, and the others were willing to follow her lead. They all used Earth Escape to enter the ruins without delay. Even the White Float 5 immortals and the little white fox began to move the debris, digging out some of the nearby ore. 2 hours passed. Yi Feng looked at the pile of ore on the ground amounting to 5 cubic meters, worth at least 3,000 lower-grade spirit stones, and his smile gradually turned ecstatic, as if he had received a long-awaited New Year's gift. Is everything moved out? Yi Feng asked the disciples. Sect Master Uncle, I've made a new discovery. Just then, Long Tianxing and Shilei came out of the ruins, excitedly saying, What did you find? Asked Yi Feng. Long Tianxing pointed to his eyes and said, Just now, Big Brother and I found a narrow crevice at the deepest part of the cave. There's wind coming from it, and it's emitting a bright spiritual energy light. There must be something inside. At this moment, Hugh Yunji stepped forward. Sect Master Uncle, let me join them and explore further. All right, but be careful, Yi Feng nodded. Don't worry, we'll be fine. Hugh Yunji raised his fist confidently. Wait a moment, Mo Ying called out to Hugh Yunji. Let Fox Dahong send out the paper warrior general to scout ahead, and the rest of us will follow behind. That would be safer. Upon hearing this, everyone felt it made sense. Leave it to me. Fox Dahong, upon hearing there was a use for him, immediately got excited, stood upright, formed hand seals with both hands, blew out spiritual energy, and transformed it into a paper warrior general. Hugh Yunji seized the paper warrior general and used the Earth Escape to penetrate into the ruins, exploring continuously under the leadership of Long Tianxing and Shilei. In the passageway, Yi Feng and the other disciples gathered in front of the light screen created by Fox Dahong, watching through the perspective of the paper warrior general. They discovered it was a very narrow crevice, just wide enough for a person to squeeze through sideways. As they delved deeper, light actually began to stream from the crevice, and it wasn't dark. Shortly, the paper warrior general arrived at another cavern. The space inside was unexpectedly broad, the inner space shaped like a gourd. The 4 walls were made of rock, preventing the use of Earth Escape to get through. In the center was a 3-meter-wide pool with a 1-foot-high stone bamboo shoot growing in it, emitting a rich glow, which surprisingly converged to form a spiritual energy vortex. It's a mini jade bamboo shoot, a kind of heavenly earth spiritual object. Its function is similar to a spiritual energy vortex capable of creating a blessed land for cultivation, explained Mo Ying, again showcasing her advantage of extensive knowledge. Once you have confirmed there's no danger, dig it out and bring it back, Yifeng said. Fox Da Hong nodded, controlling the paper warrior general to circle the pool. Finding no danger, he then waved a signal for Hu Yunji and the others to come in and excavate the jade bamboo shoot. At that moment, Shilei looked up and spotted a bucket-thick passage directly above the pool, going straight up and said, "No wonder there's airflow. There's a ventilation hole above us." Suddenly, a shadow appeared at the ventilation hole, quickly plunging towards Shilei and the others. "Be careful!" Shilei stepped forward to shield the front, formed a hand seal with one hand, and enlarged the mysterious turtle shield to block the passage. Thud, the shadow crashed down with a dull sound, the mysterious turtle shield unable to stop it, and was knocked to the ground. Only then did the shadow reveal its true form. It was a 3-meter-long centipede. Its shell was actually white but flashed with a strange metallic luster, giving off an impression of being indestructible. This appearance, it's a high-rank demon soldier-level demon beast, the white-shelled centipede, possessing potent venom. Even cultivators might not withstand it. Its defense is very strong, fortunately, apart from its venom. Its other offensive capabilities are not so powerful. Mo Ying, who was closely watching the light screen, immediately warned upon seeing the white-shelled centipede. However, Fox Da Hong could not transmit the voice there, causing Yifeng and the others to worry. In front of the pool, Shilei picked up the mysterious turtle shield, stood in the forefront, and urged Long Tianxing, who was holding the jade bamboo shoot. "You go back first, Yun Jai, and I will hold it off for a while, ah." Before Shilei could finish his words, he found himself seized by the shoulder and thrown into the crevice by Hu Yunji. The next moment, Long Tianxing also got tossed into the crevice by Hu Yunji. "I'm the strongest here, you guys retreat first, I'll hold it off for a while." Hu Yunji erupted with the aura of his Qi Refinement's 7th layer at its peak, using his left hand to cast Iron Shield Technique, and his right to cast Fiery Cloud Palm, blocking the rocky crevice. Long Tianxing and Shilei wanted to go back to help, but then they thought, if they went back, it would waste the opportunity Hu Yunji had created. So they sped up climbing through the crevice and then used Earth Escape to merge into the ground. At this time, the white-shelled centipede landed on the rocky edge of the pool, emitting a creepy sound. Its body compressed like a spring and then leapt towards Hu Yunji in an instant. "Get away!" Hu Yunji used his shield to knock the white-shelled centipede flying and then jumped into the crevice, striking the rock wall so that several large rocks fell, blocking most of the entrance to the crevice. "That was close." Hu Yunji quickly crawled towards the other end of the crevice with dirt in the ruins, as he couldn't use Earth Escape to get away otherwise. But just as he reached the end, about to enter the dirt, the white-shelled centipede broke through the rocks blocking the path and swiftly crawled over, biting onto Hu Yunji's shoulder. Ah! Agonizing pain surged through Hu Yunji's body, clouding his consciousness, yet, with the fierce determination honed from years of grueling cultivation, he clenched his teeth and persisted, moving through the soil at the fastest speed possible. "Happy New Year, may all go well with you." The white-shelled centipede caught wind of Hu Yunji's scent, and tearing through the soil, it darted through the ruins like an arrow. At this moment, in front of the passageway, Yifeng and his companions could see what was happening around the pool through the light screen and knew it was Hu Yunji who had volunteered to cover their retreat. However, they didn't know what happened afterward. All they saw was Hu Yunji slapping the rock face, using a boulder to block the path, and then the white-shelled centipede went mad, shattering the paper warrior general, and the screen went black. "Oh my, that scared me to death." Just then, Long Tianxing and Shilei leapt out from the ruins, with Long Tianxing clutching a foot-long jade bamboo shoot, making the spiritual energy around them much denser as they passed. Soon, Hu Yunji also escaped from the ruins. But as soon as he ran up to Yifeng, Hu Yunji felt his consciousness blur, and he knelt on one knee, nearly falling down. "Yun Jai, what's wrong with you?" Yifeng immediately supported him, and his hand happened to grab his shoulder, noticing it was somewhat wet. "He was bitten by a white-shelled centipede." Mo Ying pointed to the spot Yifeng was holding. Upon closer inspection, everyone immediately noticed a pair of small puncture wounds, with the surrounding area red and swollen, still bleeding. Boom! At that moment, the white-shelled centipede burst through a rock in front of the ruins and lunged at everyone. How dare you attack my disciple? Yifeng burst with rage. He extended his hand towards the white-shelled centipede from a distance, making a grabbing motion in the air, and the centipede was immediately caught midair by an invisible hand, struggling in vain to break free. With anger surging in a low growl, Yifeng exerted all his strength. With a crack, the white-shelled centipede's exoskeleton shattered, its insides spilling out. Such a potent power of heaven and earth, he has truly reached the standard of the element gathering realm first level. My sect leader has unexpectedly enhanced his own strength out of concern for the safety of his disciples in the sect. How miraculous! In silence, Mo Ying watched the scene unfold, marveling inwardly. Sect leader, come quick and look at second senior brother. Then, Yifeng heard Jia Yulan's voice and came back to his senses, noticing he was sweating profusely all over. But he didn't care about himself and quickly tore open the clothes on Huo Yunji's shoulder to see the wound surrounded by a swollen, purplish-red area. We must let out the poisoned blood first. Yifeng hung Huo Yunji upside down, cut around the wound with a clean dagger, and drained a lot of dark, poisoned blood. Then he thought of something and immediately took out a bottle of water from the system space for cleaning Huo Yunji's wound. This water came from the pool at the summit of Misty Peak, containing a part of the purifying green lotus's cleansing power, which, after washing the wound, slowly reduced the swelling and redness. Ouch, it hurts so much. Huo Yunji finally regained consciousness, and realizing he was being hung upside down by Yifeng, he was so frightened that he jolted and fell to the ground. It's okay now? Yifeng breathed a sigh of relief. After all, Huo Yunji was at the peak of the 7th Qi refinement level, and if he had run his Qi to expel the venom right after being bitten by the white-shelled centipede, he wouldn't have fallen unconscious. But at the time, the situation was dire, and there was no chance to heal if they didn't run right. Now that the danger is gone, let's take the useful parts of the white-shelled centipede with us and head back, Yifeng said. Half an hour later, the group returned to Five Colors City and caught sight of the iron-clawed dragon eagle circling nearby. They quickly boarded it and headed back to the Misty Sect. That night, the disciples were all cultivating. Yifeng laid out the loot from the Nanlu mountain range in the sect leader's great hall and began to take inventory. Spirit mines worth around 3,000 spirit stones, materials from several puppet wild wolves, gifts of gratitude for saving their lives from the various major sects, a mini-earth element slaughter array in its semi-finished state. In addition, there were some demonic beasts that had been killed, which were now cooked and distributed to Brother Flathead, the iron-clawed dragon eagles, and other mountain guardian spirit beasts. Due to not fighting for many days, and also because of the good food, Brother Flathead had clearly gained weight, leaning against the pool with a listless expression as if reminiscing about his brawling youth. Yifeng noticed that after Brother Flathead and the other spiritual beasts ate the flesh and blood of the demonic beasts, their cultivation level had obviously improved quite a bit, showing that this method was quite effective, and perhaps not much worse than consuming spirit beast pills. Mo Ying, do you know where we can process spirit mines? Yifeng raised his head and happened to see Mo Ying walking by with a towel and a change of clothes, so he asked. Spirit mines are not purely raw materials. They are very impure and usually require specialized artifact refiners to refine and categorize them first. As for where to find artifact refiners in the entire Southern River Basin, the 100 Artifacts sect is naturally the #1 choice, Mo Ying patiently explained. Upon hearing the name of the 100 Artifacts sect, Yifeng's eyes twinkled. In the system space, there was a broken arrow bull puppet, precisely made by the 100 Artifacts sect. If he could find an artifact refiner from the 100 Artifacts sect, they should be able to help refine these spirit mines. By the way, if the sect is upgraded, will it unlock the artifact refining pavilion? Yifeng suddenly thought to himself. Does the sect leader have any other matters? Mo Ying flung the towel in her hand. If there's nothing else, I am going to take a bath. There's one thing. If we set up the mini-earth element slaughter array as a sect protection array, do you think it's appropriate? Yifeng inquired. Annoyance flashed in Mo Ying's eyes, hidden behind her black veil, as she replied, killing arrays and sect protection arrays are not the same thing. How so? Yifeng asked, like a curious child. Pointing at the formation flags on the ground, Mo Ying said, a killing array usually traps people within it and then activates powerful techniques to annihilate them, like the mini-earth element slaughter array, whose main function is for killing. A sect protection array is typically a defensive formation, creating a stronger shield that can effectively protect the sect within the array. A sect protection array also possesses offensive capabilities, but they are generally used against those attacking from outside the formation. Having said this, Mo Ying turned and walked into the bathroom, adding, "Besides, formations are usually powered by spirit stones. Our Misty sect is rather poor, so it's not suitable for us to activate a full-time sect protection array." Bang! Mo Ying closed the wooden door, followed by the sound of the water running. Yifeng stroked his chin thoughtfully. Then he picked up one of the formation flags from the mini Earth Element Slaughter array and saw 3 slots on it. 2 were empty, and the last one had a middle-grade spirit stone that was nearly depleted. 12 main formation flags, when fully loaded, require 36 middle-grade spirit stones, which is equivalent to 3,600 lower-grade spirit stones. Even a high-ranked sect can't withstand such consumption, can they? Yifeng was speechless. However, for the sake of the sect's safety, and until he completed the task of upgrading to a high-ranked sect and received the system reward of miniature sect protection array ×1, Yifeng still decided to utilize the mini Earth Element Slaughter array as a temporary measure. A moment later, Yifeng packed up everything. There was still some time left before his 7-day promise with the store owner of Wuxuan Pavilion, so Yifeng decided he would deal with his current tasks before heading to Beacon Fire City. On the rooftop, Yifeng activated his spirit eyes and looked toward the backyard. Ever since his return, Huo Yunji had been lying down as if dead. The other disciples were also cultivating, and as for the jade bamboo shoot, it had already been planted in the pool, nestled closely next to the purifying blue lotus. This led to the spiritual energy of the Misty sect becoming very rich, hardly inferior to the blessed lands where high-ranked sects were located. I believe that with more and more spiritual objects, our Misty sect won't need to move locations, and we can have a cultivation effect similar to that of a spirit vein, Yifeng envisioned for the future. The next moment, as he heard the sound of water, he subconsciously glanced in the direction of the bathroom. Then, with his spirit eyes activated, Yifeng's gaze penetrated the wooden walls, seeing the silhouette of a perfect body filled with spiritual energy radiance beyond. And also, it seemed the person was looking back at him. At that moment, it was as if the two were making eye contact through the wooden wall. Holy shit, this is a misunderstanding. Yifeng was so shocked that he fell straight off the roof. Bang, Yifeng fell to the ground, his top facing the earth, legs and back against the wall, feeling profoundly wronged. My head! He swore he truly hadn't done it on purpose. The scene he stumbled upon just now was purely accidental. He wasn't sure whether Mo Ying had caught him staring, but if she had, wouldn't that be unbearably awkward? Thinking of this, Yifeng was filled with regret. He hadn't known before that spirit eyes also had an X-ray-like function, of course. This function only worked on cultivators with spiritual energy in their bodies, which made it all the more embarrassing. At that moment, the bathroom door opened. Mo Ying walked out just in time to see Yifeng with his top to the ground and feet in the air in a bizarre pose. Is sect leader practicing iron head skill? Mo Ying, holding a towel, asked. She was still wearing her black gauze hat and did not reveal her true face. But since Yifeng was essentially looking upside down at her, he could see half of Mo Ying's face under the black gauze. What he saw looked as if it had been corroded, but as he got used to it, Yifeng thought it wasn't a big deal. He quickly got up, pointed at the bright moon above and said, "Look, the moon is so big and round." Mo Ying looked up to see the crescent moon with a suspicious expression. This is a full moon? What kind of vision does the sect leader have? She complained inwardly, then looked down only to find that Yifeng had disappeared from the spot. How strange! Mo Ying shook her head and went back to her room. Inside the sect leader's great hall, Yifeng was patting his chest, his heart pounding. The next morning, Yifeng got up early. He found that Li Jiao was also up, busy in the kitchen with the little white fox standing on the stove, squinting as it basked in the warmth, utterly content. Good morning, sect master uncle. I'm making breakfast for the fellow disciples. Li Jiao, who was washing pots with spirit pool water, saw Yifeng approaching and hurriedly greeted him. Why are you up so early doing breakfast instead of cultivating? Yifeng asked. Making breakfast is also a way of cultivating, Li Jiao said. Yifeng was taken aback and asked, Who said that? Li Jiao suddenly became very serious, gazing at the sky and said, When the old sect leader was alive, the moment he brought me to Misty Peak, he took my hand and said, Jiao, you are the flower of the village. You shouldn't normally have to cook and clean, but you might not realize this too is a form of cultivation. Hearing this, Yifeng's face was full of black lines. The old sect leader must have been talking nonsense, misleading the innocent girl so she would happily do the cooking and cleaning every day. At this moment, Li Jiao continued. At that time, the old sect leader told me that while cooking, constantly sensing the harmony of various ingredients can lead to the creation of a culinary path, making food that is greatly beneficial to cultivators. I remember, this profession is called spirit chef. So I want to become a spirit chef. Li Jiao raised her small hand holding the pot scrubber, unfazed by the dirty water splashing onto her face, full of determination. Watching her spirit, Yifeng chose not to speak further. Although he didn't know whether the profession of spirit chef existed in the world, if Li Jiao could truly venture down this path and achieve something, as the sect leader, Yifeng would certainly find it gratifying. Even though Yifeng suspected this might just be the old sect leader bamboozling Li Jiao, he still chose to support her. When a person is passionate about something, even if it's an unknown path, there is still a chance to forge something great. Work hard and I'll wait for the day you become a spirit chef, Yifeng said, extending his hand, wanting to pat Li Jiao on the shoulder as a gesture of encouragement. But because Li Jiao was quite petite, about 5'2", and Yifeng was tall, his hand could only rest on the top of her head. This sudden head pat kill instantly made Li Jiao's eyes widen as she looked up at Yifeng, her heartbeat suddenly quickening. Sect Master Uncle, Huo Yunji's voice came from outside the kitchen. Yifeng withdrew his hand and casually picked up a bowl of water as he walked out of the kitchen, completely unaware that Li Jiao had lowered her head, her face already as red as the setting sun. Outside the kitchen, Yifeng saw Huo Yunji dressed in a new outfit, looking very clean with a letter in his hand, so he asked, "Dressed so handsomely and even shaved, don't tell me it's for a blind date." After speaking, Yifeng took a gulp of spiritual water, ready to rinse his mouth. Huo Yunji said in surprise, "Sect Master Uncle really predicts like a deity. I just received a letter from my mother, telling me to go back for a blind date." Yifeng spurted the mouthwash out on the spot. "Really a blind date?" "Yes, didn't you already predict it, sect leader?" Huo Yunji was confused. Yifeng had just been calm a moment ago. Why did he seem so surprised now? "Recently, it's not very peaceful around Whitefloat City. Be sure to pay attention to safety when you go home," Yifeng agreed. However, he took a spirit sword out from the system space and handed it to Huo Yunji, saying, "It's for temporary use. Traveling with a sword will make you much faster." Back when he was at Fenyuo River, Yifeng had eradicated 5 bandits from Ziguang stronghold and had seized 5 spiritual artifacts, including a spirit sword. "Thank you, Sect Master Uncle, but I haven't cultivated any sword-related spells and can't travel with a sword." "That's easy. I'll pass on Mo Ying's first-grade spell, Streaming Light Sword Qi, to you right now. Don't worry, I've asked her and she said it's a spell that can be shared within the sect," Yifeng said. "Thank you, Sect Master Uncle," Huo Yunji said gratefully. "By the way, where's your home?" Yifeng asked again. "Sect leader, my home is in Beacon Fire City," Huo Yunji replied. "Ah, your home is actually in Beacon Fire City. Why haven't you ever mentioned it before?" Yifeng exclaimed, his mouth gaping in surprise. Huo Yunji showed a bitter smile. "Sect Master Uncle doesn't know. Although my family is a noble one, the situation is a bit complex. It's hard to explain in a few words, so it's better left unmentioned." Yifeng didn't say anything more. In the following time, he personally taught the Streaming Light Sword Qi, and Huo Yunji, being diligent, achieved minor achievement within half an hour. After breakfast, Huo Yunji refined the spirit sword, bade farewell to his fellow sect brothers, and was ready to go home. "Big brother, I want to go too." Long Tianxing, like a hyperactive husky, ran over excitedly. "I have good eyesight. I can sit by your side and help you screen the candidates during your blind date." Shilei laughed slyly by the side. "Yunjai, I haven't been on a blind date yet either. I'd also like to take this opportunity to learn." Huo Yunji's face was immediately filled with helplessness. "Go together, the 3 of you brothers can look out for each other, and that would give me peace of mind." Yifeng finished speaking and took out 10 lower-grade spirit stones, stuffing them into Huo Yunji's hand. "Also, how can you go on a blind date without bringing some money?" After speaking, Yifeng hung a string of copper coins around Huo Yunji's neck. Yifeng thought for a moment and then added, "Oh, and bring some food so you won't get hungry on the road." "Sect Master Uncle, it's enough, really, no need for so much." Huo Yunji felt defeated by Yifeng, thinking he was even more nagging than his own mother, and immediately piloted the spirit sword, carrying Shilei and Long Tianxing as if fleeing for their lives away from Misty Peak. "Hey, don't rush, take some eggs too," Yifeng hurriedly waved and shouted. Huo Yunji jerked, almost falling off the spirit sword, and quickly sped up. But since the spirit sword could not enlarge like Mo Ying's breeze-riding sword, the three brothers had to squeeze together on a sword just over a meter long, which looked rather comical. When Yifeng came out of the kitchen with a basket of eggs, he found that Huo Yunji and the others had long since disappeared without a trace, leaving him to return sullenly. Not long after, Yifeng found Mo Ying and handed her a large pile of formation flags, saying, "I need you to set up the mini-Earth Element Slaughter Array to temporarily act as our Misty Sect's sect protection array." "Is the sect leader sure about this?" Mo Ying frowned slightly. "Even if we only activate the shield of the array and run it at the lowest consumption, in 1 month, the middle-grade spirit stones embedded in the formation flags will be depleted." "Sure and certain," Yifeng gave his response. Even though the existing middle-grade spirit stones would run out within a month, it wasn't much to worry about for the sake of the sect's safety. "All right, leave it to me." Mo Ying picked up the core formation flag, infused her spiritual energy into it, waved it lightly, and 12 large flags swiftly flew up. They were inserted at intervals of 30 meters along the edge of Misty Peak's cliffs, emitting spiritual light to form an irregular bowl-shaped shield that turned upside down, enveloping the Misty Sect within it. If not under attack, the shield's consumption was small, and it could hold for a month without issues. If faced with an external assault, that would be another matter. "You will temporarily be in charge of the formation flags." Having said that, Yifeng leapt up to the roof of the sect leader's great hall and began his tedious day. As for Mo Ying, holding the core formation flag, she hadn't expected the sect leader to trust her so much, to entrust her with the control of the vitally important sect protection array. Her heart warmed once again. Fayun Gloomy Forest. 3 close friends rode on spirit swords, flying towards Beacon Fire City at a speed of 10 meters per second. "I've noticed that the spiritual energy consumption is a bit fast. Could it be because you guys are too heavy?" Huo Yunji held a spirit stone, replenishing spiritual energy while saying so. Shilei scratched his head. "Maybe I ate too much for breakfast." Long Tianxing, "Senior brother second, it's my fault. I should have taken care of a big business before we left." Huo Yunji, he really had the urge to throw Long Tianxing, and she lay off. An hour and a half later, the three finally arrived at Beacon Fire City and entered a large estate in the east of the city named Huo Residence. "What a large estate, it's almost like my uncle's place. So Senior brother second's family background is also this good," Long Tianxing said, pointing to the impressive gate of Huo Residence. Shilei, noting the 2 willow leaf-shaped symbols behind the words Huo Residence, expressed his surprise. "So Yunji's family is a middle-rank sect-level family, but why did you join the Misty Sect?" "It's a bit complicated." Huo Yunji stored his spirit sword away and sighed. At that moment, 2 Chi Refinement Layer 3 guards stationed at the gate saw Huo Yunji and their expressions changed. But the next moment, they still bowed and said, "Young master, you've finally returned. The madam personally instructed that as soon as you returned, you should find her in the backyard, and these 2 gentlemen are," Huo Yunji said, "these 2 are my sect brothers. So they are disciples of the Misty Sect." The guards looked at each other, feeling a bit strange. Hadn't they heard that the Misty Sect was nearly bankrupt? How did they still have 2 disciples who seemed pretty decent? Especially Long Tianxing, with his silver hair and blue pupils, he looked somewhat exotic, making them involuntarily take a step back. "I'll go see my mother first." Huo Yunji walked ahead, leading the way into the familiar yet somewhat strange Huo residence, feeling a mix of emotions. Thump, 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 a series of footsteps approached. Huo Yunji looked in the direction of the sound and coincidentally saw a lean young boy running towards him. Their eyes met, and both involuntarily showed joy. "Big brother, you've finally come back." The young boy ran over, his eyes brimming with excitement. Huo Yunji patted the boy on the shoulder. "Yun Hao, you've gotten taller, and your cultivation has reached the 5th layer of Qi refinement. You truly deserve to be the genius who has been accepted into a high-ranked sect, Yunhua sect, under the tutelage of an element-gathering realm great elder." "Senior brother, junior brother Long, this is my brother, Yunhao, a disciple under the tutelage of the Yunhua sect's element-gathering realm great elder." Huo Yunji turned and introduced him to Shilei and Long Tianxing. "So it's the virtuous younger brother." Shilei nodded in greeting. Long Tianxing also said, "You truly are the brother of second senior brother, having reached the 5th layer of Qi refinement as well." Huo Yunhao glanced at Chile and Long Tianxing, a shock rising in his heart, because he realized that he could not see through their cultivation levels. Even Huo Yunji's cultivation level was beyond his perception. "Big brother, why can't I see through your cultivation levels?" Huo Yunhao asked in surprise. "You couldn't have had a fortuitous encounter and are now close to the 6th layer of qi refinement, could you?" Upon hearing Huo Yunhao mention cultivation levels, Huo Yunji was filled with emotion. He was, after all, of a lower-grade constitution and had a special background not welcomed in the Huo residence. Unable to keep pace with his brother, who had a middle-grade constitution, he would, based on his usual rate of cultivation, be at most at the 5th layer of qi refinement. Even if he cultivated until old age, it would be impossible for him to ascend to the element-gathering realm. But ever since Yi Feng took charge of the Misty Sect, Huo Yunji experienced earth-shattering changes, and in less than a month, he reached the peak of the 7th layer of qi refinement. With such a cultivation level, even placed in front of the old master of the Huo residence who did not welcome him, it would be sufficient to attract attention. However, Huo Yunji disdained the other's regard. As he was about to speak, a loud shout interrupted him. "You little rascal, you dare to come back?" An imposing figure with the stride of a dragon and the steps of a tiger approached. This person was a middle-aged man dressed in brocade, wearing a round hat, his beard tough as steel needles, as if a fierce general from the battlefield. "Dad, how can you talk to big brother like that?" Huo Yunhao immediately blocked the front. The Huo residence's old master, Huo Daxing, sneered and said, "Yunhao, how many times has Dad told you this little rascal shares a mother but not a father with you? He may be your big brother, but he's not my child, and furthermore, joining a mere lower-rank sect, truly bringing disgrace on our Huo residence. I want to see just what progress he could have made after a few months of absence." Huo Daxing unleashed the aura of the 8th layer of qi refinement, instantly stepping past Huo Yunhao, and his hand struck towards Huo Yunji. "Senior and junior brothers, no need to take action, let me handle this." Huo Yunji's eyes turned cold. He charged forward, clashing palms with Huo Daxing midair, unleashing a staggering momentum. Bang! Huo Yunji staggered back 3 steps, his breathing steady. Huo Daxing retreated 5 steps, causing the ground to dent beneath him, his eyes filled with disbelief. The peak of the 7th layer of qi refinement. How could a lower rank sect possibly allow you to make such swift breakthroughs? Huo Daxing was shocked. Just now, he had only used the strength of the 6th layer of qi refinement, intending to suppress Huo Yunji a bit, to make him submit, but who would have thought that Huo Yunji would burst forth with all his power, numbing his arm. "Big brother, you're incredible." Huo Yunhao had always admired his big brother, thinking him capable of enduring hardships and possessing perseverance. Now, seeing Huo Yunji actually overpower Huo Daxing, he was nearly bowled over. "Uncle, the Misty Sect isn't as simple as you imagine." Huo Yunji withdrew his hand and said gravely. At the age of 2, his biological father fell, and his mother, with him in tow, remarried into the Huo residence. Because he was not Huo Daxing's own son, he always suffered disdain, and hence he addressed Huo Daxing merely as uncle. "Damn Huo Daxing, you dare to rough up my Jai, then don't blame your old mother for jabbing you." A sharp voice rang out, shaking the entire Huo residence, and everybody knew the lady of the house was on a rampage again. Chile and Long Tianxing, who had been watching the drama, looked towards the source of the voice and saw a beautiful woman lifting her skirt with one hand and holding a pair of scissors in the other, charging over with fiery haste. Her speed and posture were a match for Brother Flathead. "Mom, don't bother with him." Huo Yunji quickly stopped the woman. "My child, you finally came back. Oh my, you've gotten so thin, and look at that frame, not robust enough. You've gone from 1-pack to a 6-pack. How will any matchmaking prospects fancy you now? According to me, you should eat more and gain some flesh. At least weigh 200 pounds to be considered standard." Upon seeing Huo Yunji, the woman immediately dropped the scissors, coincidentally sticking them into the foot of the Huo residence's old master, Huo Daxing. And then she took Yunji's face in her hands, chattering non-stop. "Here we go again." Huo Yunji couldn't stand his overly nagging mother and quickly changed the subject, asking, "Mom, you called me back. It's not really to arrange a marriage for me, is it?" "What, just because it's not a matchmaking meeting, I can't have you brought back?" the woman asked with her hands on her hips, a dissatisfied look on her face. Huo Yunji hastily said, "No, I didn't mean that." At this moment, Huo Daxing, not far away, pulled out the scissors stuck in his boot and said in a deep voice, This matchmaking meeting is with the young Miss of the Lin family from Beacon Fire City, who is also a talented disciple of the Yunhua sect, and could be considered Yun Hao's senior sister. In the past, someone like you wouldn't have caught the eye of Miss Lin, but now, with qi refinement at the peak of the 7th level and an extremely high success rate. Initially, Huo Daxing had little faith in Huo Yunji. After all, a person who had entered a lower-ranked sect at his age would do well to have reached the 4th or 5th level of qi refinement. But who could have known that Huo Yunji, as if he had taken immortal elixirs and wondrous medicines, had soared to the peak of the 7th level of qi refinement in just a few short months, surpassing even Miss Lin, and would even be considered a core disciple in a high-ranked sect. With this in mind, the chances of the Huo residents arranging a wedding alliance with the Lin family became very high. As the lord of the Huo residence, Huo Daxing was the greatest beneficiary. Thinking of this, his heart swelled with joy, and looking at Huo Yunji, he even found his face somewhat more pleasing to the eye. Upon hearing this, Huo Yunji furrowed his brow. Over the years, Huo Daxing had always wanted Huo Yunji to marry into one of the other aristocratic families of Beacon Fire City. And Huo Yunji's mother had also agreed, especially this year when Huo Yunji had already attended 9 matchmaking meetings, which truly depleted his patience. Second senior brother, what is the Yunhua sect? Long Tianxing leaned in and whispered to Huo Yunji. Huo Yunji turned his head and said, the Yunhua sect is a high-ranked sect located over 100 miles away from Beacon Fire City, occupying a mountain range of more than 10 square miles. In addition to having over 1,000 disciples, the sect is also home to several element-gathering realm powerhouses. After thinking for a moment, Huo Yunji added, oh right, the people around here are all cultivators, and their 6 senses are very sharp. You don't need to deliberately lower your voice when talking because whether you whisper or speak normally, they can hear you. After hearing the latter part, Long Tianxing's face turned embarrassed. Indeed, the Yunhua sect is the strongest high-ranked sect in this area. It's just that it hasn't been promoted to a 1-star sect yet because certain conditions have not been met. But in reality, it is no weaker than a 1-star sect. My son Yun Hao is endowed with a natural gift and was fortunate to join the Yunhua sect. Huo Daxing said proudly, as if he was the one who had joined the Yunhua sect. After a pause, Huo Daxing continued. The lady my son Yun Jai is meeting for the matchmaking is a direct disciple of an elder of the Yunhua sect with qi refinement at the 7th level. If this match is successful, our Huo residents will be able to maintain a closer relationship with the Yunhua sect. Huo Daxing initially wanted to say little bastard, but as soon as he uttered the word little, he caught sight of Huo Yunji's mother raising a pair of scissors with survival instinct kicking in. He immediately corrected himself. After hearing all this, Huo Yunji coldly sneered, women will only slow down my cultivation speed. He greatly disliked being ordered about by Huo Daxing. Firstly, he was not Huo Daxing's biological son. Moreover, when he was younger, Huo Daxing either beat or scolded him, leading to a frosty relationship. If it weren't for not being strong enough on his own and concern for his mother, Huo Yunji would have flown far away long ago. I think you've grown too bold, Huo Daxing said angrily, stomping and breaking a floor tile. Huo Yunji's mother immediately dropped the scissors and pulled out a shiny kitchen knife from behind her back. Huo Daxing, shut your mouth. Get back to your training room right now. Yun Jai, come with Mom to meet Miss Lin. Although Huo Daxing was quite arrogant, he was under strict control by his wife. Facing the woman brandishing a knife, he had no choice but to swallow his pride and leave with a flick of his sleeve. Zhuyu Tea House, the most famous tea house in Beacon Fire City. Inside the luxurious private room on the 3rd floor, a tea table was set in the center with a man and a woman sitting on either side. The man, of course, was Huo Yunji. The woman was dressed in a white gown, her long hair flowing loose with a red string tied in a butterfly knot at the back, giving her a simple and elegant appearance. However, Huo Yunji was preoccupied with drinking tea, oblivious to the beautiful Miss Lin sitting in front of him. There was only one thought in his mind. Women will only slow down my cultivation speed. The lady also drank her tea in silence. In this regard, the two shared a surprising tacit understanding. Outside the private room, she lay Long Tianxing, Huo Yunhao, the mother of Huo Yunji, and several women clung to the bamboo mat curtain, secretly watching. My goodness, why don't they talk? They just know to drink tea. Could it be that affection can be brewed through tea drinking? If one could brew affection from drinking tea, that would be nice indeed. This matchmaking process is truly a bit awkward, the crowd whispered among themselves, inside the private room. The young lady from the Lin family took the lead in putting down her teacup and said, Lin Yuyan, direct disciple of an elder from the Yunhua sect, 7th layer of Qi refinement, possesses 9 first-grade spells and 1 second-grade spell, all of which have reached major achievement. My intention is in cultivation, not in the matters of personal affections. Huo Yunji laughed, put down his teacup, and said, Huo Yunji, 2nd disciple of the Misty sect from White Float City at the peak of the 7th layer of Qi refinement, several first-grade spells have reached perfection. Women will only slow down my pace in cultivation. The young lady, Lin Yuyan, was slightly moved. She had thought that today's matchmaking partner would be a simpleton, but to her surprise, he was a handsome young man whose cultivation level was above hers, and even more impressive was that his spells were all at perfection. The only flaw was that he liked to boast. However, Lin Yuyan had her mind not set on romantic entanglements. Even though she found Huo Yunji to be quite agreeable, she had no intention of agreeing to this marriage alliance. It seems, fellow Taoist Lin, that we've come to an understanding. After another cup of tea, it would be time for us to return to our respective homes. Huo Yunji laughed. Truth be told, Lin Yuyan left a good first impression on him. Her makeup was light, giving her an appearance of elegance and purity, and she also seemed very clean and tidy. The only thing was, he was intent on cultivation. All right. Lin Yuyan picked up the teapot, only to find it empty, and then called out, Another pot of tea, please. The crowd outside the window was dumbfounded. The two had been drinking tea for a long while, and then suddenly they had a brief exchange, and it was over. Although they were a bit confused by what they heard, they could pretty much discern that this matchmaking session had come to nothing, and they were scratching their heads in urgency. At this moment, a maid carrying a teapot walked into the private room, ready to pour tea for the two of them. Long Tianxing glanced at the maid and suddenly felt a sting in his eyes. He quickly channeled spiritual energy into his eyes and saw a strange black human face phantom hovering above the maid's head. Something's amiss. Long Tianxing pointed at the maid and shouted. Huo Yunji and Lin Yuyan, upon hearing the warning, both looked up at the maid and noticed that her eyes were pupilless, just white. Not good. This woman has been struck by the soul-controlling art. Lin Yuyan suddenly thought of something. And at that moment, the maid violently smashed the teapot towards Lin Yuyan and flicked a silver talisman from her sleeve that went flying towards her in an instant. Busy dodging the teapot, Lin Yuyan failed to notice the oncoming attack and was struck by the stabilizing talisman on her forehead, her body instantly rendered immobile. She couldn't muster any of her mana. Clang! Another dagger sprang from the maid's sleeve, wrapped in black energy, stabbing towards Lin Yuyan's vital areas. Do you think I do not exist? Huo Yunji angrily threw his teacup, and with a move of the iron shield technique, he shielded the front, knocking the maid flying out and crashing through the third-floor window to the ground below. Afterward, he reached out and removed the silver talisman from Lin Yuyan's forehead, restoring her ability to move. That is someone from the soul-seizing sect. Quick, after her! Lin Yuyan suddenly unsheathed her spirit sword and leaped out through the window. Big brother, second brother, do we give chase? Long Tianxing hurriedly asked. Of course we chase. The soul-seizing sect is infamously notorious around Beacon Fire City. None of their members are good news. Huo Yunji nodded, then turned to Huo Yunhao and said, Yunhao, you stay behind to protect Mother. We will be back shortly. Having spoken, Huo Yunji, along with Shilei and Long Tianxing, burst through the window and landed on the ground from the 3rd floor. Not so fast. At that moment, Lin Yuyan had already drawn her sword and was quickly pursuing the maid who was attempting to flee. We should give chase, too. Huo Yunji didn't hesitate and prepared to ride his sword after her. Second brother, hold on, I've found something. Long Tianxing, who had activated his blue spirit eyes, stopped Huo Yunji. He had noticed a subtle black line on the body of the maid, leading in the opposite direction of her escape. Big brother, second brother, the mastermind is very sly, actually going in the opposite direction. Long Tianxing followed the black line and pointed towards its source. Huo Yunji and Shilei, aware of Long Tianxing's exceptional eyes that could see things unseen by ordinary spirit eyes, quickly followed the direction he indicated. A few hundred meters away, Lin Yuyan finally caught up with the controlled maid, pinched a sword spell and tapped her on the back, causing her to collapse limply on the ground. Then a puff of black chi burst out from the top of the maid's head and formed a black human face in midair which cackled sinisterly. Lin Yuyan, you chased the wrong way, ha ha ha? Oh. Before the voice could finish, the black human face exploded. 500 meters away, inside a dilapidated wooden hut, there sat a young man at a desk, his face covered with bizarre black lines, laughing smugly. In front of him was a screen of light showing the scene where Lin Yuyan was. Bang. Suddenly the door shattered. Hu Yunji, Shilei, and Long Tianxing descended like divine warriors, scaring the young man until his face turned black. Long Tianxing pointed at the black-faced youngster and declared, "Brothers, he is the mastermind. Gentlemen, aren't you entering the wrong door?" Before he finished speaking, the black-faced young man had already turned to run away. Fiery Cloud Palm, Vitality Bullet, Iron Shield Art. The three of them struck simultaneously, and in an instant they had beaten the young man at the 7th layer of chi refinement so badly he spat white foam and convulsed all over. "Tie him up, take him away," Hu Yunji said. Long Tianxing immediately used the binding spirit rope, tying up the black-faced youth with a rope of spiritual energy and striding confidently towards the Zhuyu tea house. In the sky, Lin Yuyan rode her sword over and from a distance saw the scene of Hu Yunji and the others thrashing the black-faced young man. Her heart was struck with alarm. How did they precisely locate the caster of the soul control technique? What kind of method is this? Lin Yuyan murmured to herself, her eyes filled with astonishment. She suddenly realized she had underestimated the Misty Sect. Moreover, when Hu Yunji used the fire cloud palm, he could actually make his entire palm ignite with scorching flames. That was clearly a sign of perfection. So, Hu Yunji wasn't bragging. He truly perfected his spell to the perfect stage. The other two from the Misty Sect actually have 6th layer and 5th layer of chi refinement cultivation levels respectively, with all their spells at least achieving major achievement. The more Lin Yuyan thought about it, the more shocked she became. Is this really just a lower rank sect? Could the Misty Sect, which has cultivated disciples like Hu Yunji, Shilei, and Long Tianxing, at least be high-ranked? With these doubts in her heart, Lin Yuyan joined Hu Yunji and the others at the underside of Zhuyu Tea House and finally saw the bound, black-faced youth. "Who are you, and why are you trying to assassinate me?" Lin Yuyan, who looked gentle but was decisive in action, immediately kicked the black-faced young man in the abdomen. "Wow," the dark-faced youth spat out foam. "Lin Yuyan, you actually called for help. How dishonorable in martial conduct." Clang. A sharp sword was pressed against the dark-faced youth's neck. Lin Yuyan exerted a little pressure, and blood began to seep out. The dark-faced youth swallowed hard. "I am Jiang Dacho, a direct disciple of Saohun Zhenren from the Soul-Seizing sect, sent to assassinate the geniuses of other sects, and you're one of them." After speaking, Jiang Dacho looked at Hu Yunji and the other two with dread, his face filled with sorrow and indignation. "But who knew you actually got help from a star-level sect?" "We're not from a star-level sect," Hu Yunji said. Jiang Dacho was startled. "Impossible, such astonishing methods, if not from a star-level sect, then from where?" "They are disciples of the Misty Sect, a lower-ranked sect," Lin Yuyan said. "Ha ha ha. You don't have to lie like that, do you? A trio with complementary spells for attack, defense, and entrapment, with a 7th layer of chi refinement leading, and 5th and 6th layers assisting from the sides, capable of capturing even an 8th layer alive. That's the standard configuration for an outbound team from a star-level sect. You think I wouldn't know?" Jiang Dacho's smile turned wretched. "You're just masquerading as a lower-ranked sect to humiliate me, that's all." Upon hearing this, Hu Yunji, Shilei, and Long Tianxing exchanged glances, thinking Jiang Dacho was being too melodramatic. "Thank you for your help." Lin Yuyan didn't want to waste words with Jiang Dacho and sheathed her sword, then bowed to Hu Yunji. Remembering how, back in the tea house, Hu Yunji stood in front of her wielding the iron shield technique, she suddenly realized that having a man take care of her didn't seem too bad, especially since he was stronger than herself. But Lin Yuyan's mind only glanced over this thought, and it didn't mean that she was love-struck with Hu Yunji at first sight, but rather she felt goodwill towards him and considered him a potentially good friend. "No need to be courteous, Taoist Lin," Hu Yunji nodded, then glanced at Jiang Dacho. "What should we do with this man?" "This man claims to be on a mission to assassinate talented disciples from various sects. I'm afraid that the soul-seizing sect leader, Saohun Zhenren, is plotting something. I suggest we cripple his cultivation, then I'll take him back to the sect for the sect master to interrogate and investigate. What do you think?" Lin Yuyan proposed. "No, please." Upon hearing his cultivation might be crippled, Jiang Dacho's face turned a ghastly combination of black and green. "You can take him away, but first give us a lick," Hugh Yunji recalled Yi Feng's reminder and said so. Lick! Lin Yuyan blinked, thinking the term sounded novel. Let me do it. Long Tianxing rolled up his sleeves and started patting Jiang Dachao, turning the latter's face a mix of black, green, and white, who then screamed. Stop that, I'm not into that sort of thing. Seeing this, Lin Yuyan shivered and secretly wondered if Hugh Yunji and his group were in that kind of relationship. Slap, Hugh Yunji gave Jiang Dachao a slap, saying, What's going on in your head? Do we look like those kinds of people to you? Found it. At that moment, Long Tianxing pulled out a bag of spirit stones and an ancient book from Jiang Dachao's hidden pocket. So this is called licking the bag, I see now, Lin Yuyan mumbled to herself as if having an epiphany. Taoist Lin will leave this person to you, Hugh Yunji said. Thank you. Lin Yuyan pierced her sword down, crippling Jiang Dachao's qi, and then dragged him by the collar towards the Lin residence. After walking just a few steps, she turned back and gave Hugh Yunji a charming smile. Thank you for today. I'd like to invite you to a meal. Some other day, Hugh Yunji replied. All right. After Lin Yuyan had left, Hugh Yunji and his two companions gathered around to examine the ancient book titled Soul Control Technique, a second-grade spell which turned out to be merely incomplete fragments, unable to be practiced to perfection. Even though it's only fragments, our sect master uncle can surely perfect it. After all, he is a great master of magic, Shilei said excitedly. Hugh Yunji and Long Tianxing nodded upon hearing this. Although they hadn't managed to bring a Dao companion back this trip, acquiring a second-grade spell for White Float was quite exhilarating. Right, there are also the spirit stones. Long Tianxing quickly opened his spirit stone pouch and found that it contained over 20 lower-grade spirit stones, each shining and glittering like beautiful jade. We've even earned back our travel expenses. The three disciples looked at each other, smiles gradually twisting on their faces. Hugh Yunji suddenly remembered something and took out a silver talisman from within his clothes, saying, This seems to be the lower-grade stabilizing talisman. Below the element-gathering realm, as long as it's stuck on the forehead, it can immobilize a person. It was used by Jiang Dachao when he wielded the soul control technique to force the maid to attempt to assassinate Lin Yuyan. After Hugh Yunji removed the talisman paper, he had been secretly keeping it. The stabilizing talisman, it's really quite a find. We must hurry back to Misty Peak and hand over these treasures to the sect master uncle. Shilei couldn't hide his joy. Is the stabilizing talisman really that powerful? Asked Long Tianxing, scratching his head curiously. Hugh Yunji explained, Of course it's powerful. Like I said, no one below the element-gathering realm can resist it. The only downside is that it has to be applied at close range, which is a great limitation. By the way, second senior brother, what is the soul-seizing sect? Long Tianxing voiced his curiosity. Hugh Yunji's face darkened slightly as he spoke solemnly. The soul-seizing sect is a demonic sect, not recognized by the orthodox sects. It is rumored to have practitioners at the element-gathering realm level stationed within and is not weaker than the high-ranked sects. The members of this sect are infamous for their unscrupulous deeds, killing people and refining their souls, utterly abhorrent. Can't be. Are there really sects that are so cruel? Long Tianxing felt a chill running down his spine. Hugh Yunji patted his shoulder and said, Junior brother Long, you are still too young. The cultivation world is complex and intertwined, not as simple as you imagine. So, the world outside is this dangerous. Long Tianxing felt some pressure. Shilei showed a simple smile as he said, Junior brother Long, you needn't worry. All schemes and tricks are like bubbles before absolute strength. What we need to do is to cultivate diligently. With strength, we can stand firm anywhere. Long Tianxing nodded firmly. He had always wanted to know his origin, but his maternal uncle Long Zhenchuan and his mother had not permitted him to travel far. Even after arriving at the Misty Sect, Yi Feng had also warned him not to leave within a 300-mile radius of White Float City until his qi refinement reached the 7th level. Having traveled to Beacon Fire City, Long Tianxing now realized how dangerous and complex the outside was. He thought it was best to heed the sect leader and the elders' advice. Wait until he was strong enough before venturing far. Big brother, are you guys all right? At this moment, Hugh Yunhao ran down from the Zhuyu tea house, accompanied by a worried-looking Hugh Yunji's mother. We're fine. The person behind the disturbance has been caught, and now we've handed him over to our friend Lin for handling, Hugh Yunji said. Hugh Yunji's mother, Zhu Xiulan, quickly inquired, Which friend Lin? Is it Miss Lin Yuyan from the Lin family? Right, where is she? Miss Lin Yuyan has already returned home, Hugh Yunji said. Hugh Yunhao immediately started gossiping. Big brother, how did the matchmaking go? No match. Hugh Yunji shook his head, his words painting a look of disappointment on Zhu Xiulan's face. But then they heard Long Tianxing say, just now Miss Lin Yuyan invited our second senior brother to dinner, but senior brother suggested another day. Really? Zhu Xiulan's eyes lit up as she already had her grandson's name and the school he would attend all figured out. Mother, let's talk about the matchmaking later. We've stumbled upon an urgent matter and must rush back to Misty Peak. Oh, here are 5 spirit stones. Your cultivation talent is not very good, so keep these and cultivate well. Make sure to stay healthy and happy every day. I'll come to see you again when I have the time. Hugh Yunji stuffed 5 spirit stones into Zhu Xiulan's hands and patted Hugh Yunhao's shoulder before mounting his sword and soaring into the sky. Goodbye, Aunt. Long Tianxing and Shilei waved their hands, jumped onto their spirit swords, and ascended with Hugh Yunji, disappearing quickly from everyone's sight. You little rascal, get back here. Only then did Zhu Xiulan realize her eldest son had run off again, anger prompting her to throw the spirit stones in her hand after him. Mother, those are spirit stones, don't throw them. Hugh Yunhao's eyelid twitched, and he dove forward to catch the spirit stones with great care. Ah, those are spirit stones. I thought your brother was fooling me with some jade. Zhu Xiulan realized they were indeed spirit stones, instantly regretting her action. Atop Misty Peak, Yifeng lay on the rooftop at an angle, propping his head with his left hand. His legs crossed at the ankle, while with his right hand he wielded the power of the heroic spirits to control a dagger, making it thrust rapidly through the air in accordance with his thoughts, just as if he were employing a sword control technique. On another rooftop, Mo Ying held a single hand in an incantation gesture, controlling the breeze-riding sword to compete with Yi Feng's dagger, producing brilliant sparks upon collision. On the ground, the other disciples looked up, watching the battle intently. The sect leader's sword control technique is so impressive. In just half a day's time, he can already completely suppress senior sister Mo, Aoyang Feng said, clenching his fists with longing. That's not the sword control technique. Sect master uncle doesn't have cultivation. What he's using now is an intangible power called the heroic spirit power, which is a kind of power of heaven and earth. It can control not only swords and knives, but all things, Jia Yulan explained. After saying this, she executed falling blooms in profusion, and numerous petals converged into a keen-edged sword that she slashed upwards, yelling, Sect leader, senior sister Mo, let me be your sparring partner. Okay, Yifeng nodded in agreement. Today was really too boring. Thus, Yifeng started to familiarize himself with the power of the heroic spirits. With Mo Ying's assistance, he gradually mastered how to wield this power. He even learned the sword combat technique, which truly surprised Mo Ying. She secretly thought Yifeng's comprehension was terrifyingly astonishing, truly demon-like. Yifeng felt that if he encountered the black-patterned serpent demon and little wolf general now, these 2 demons would definitely have no chance to escape. Above the gloomy forests of Faiyan, 3 sworn brothers advanced on their flying swords. Unbeknownst to them, from within a dense forest below, 2 cold gazes watched them. Little Wolf General, it seems to be just the 3 of them. Why not let me make a move? The black-patterned serpent demon said, dissatisfied. Foolish. Yifeng of Misty Sect is surely hiding nearby. These 3 are most likely bait. If you go out there, you're seeking death, Little Wolf General said darkly. He looked down at his severed arm, grinding his teeth with hatred. Yifeng, for the arm you took, I will make sure to grind you into dust. Hearing the name Yifeng, the black-patterned serpent demon also showed a face full of resentment. Glancing at its partially severed tail, its anger intensified. Yifeng is too strong. Only Lord Demon General himself can handle him. After a moment of thought, Little Wolf General said, Last night Lord Demon General sent a message, saying he has come out of seclusion and is going to discuss important matters with Saohun Zhenren today. We must simply wait for the good news. Speaking of which, where is the shape-shifting beast? The black-patterned serpent demon asked. That disloyal dog, upon finding out I wasn't a match for Yifeng, betrayed us on the spot. Now it's anyone's guess where it ran off to, Little Wolf General said, suddenly irritated, wishing he could beat the shape-shifting beast to a pulp. That guy, the black-patterned serpent demon gnashed its teeth in anger. Misty Peak. Sect leader, we're back. Long Tianxing and his 2 companions returned on their swords. From afar, they had seen the mini-earth element slaughter array and mistook it for an invasion by the demon race, which greatly alarmed them. Once they looked more closely, they realized there seemed to be no issue and called out loudly. "You're back so soon?" Yifeng was somewhat surprised. Logically, after a matchmaking meeting, shouldn't they immediately enter their bridal chamber? Was the matchmaking a letdown again? He had thought that Misty Sect would finally see someone break their single status and was ready to celebrate, yet there they were, still a bunch of single dogs. Pitiful. When Mo Ying saw Hu Yunji and the others return, she immediately waved the core formation flag to allow them passage. "Sect leader, we've brought back a surprise." Hu Yunji could scarcely contain himself and said excitedly, "Oh, what surprise?" Yifeng's eyes sparkled. In Yifeng's view, could the thing that excited Hu Yunji so much be that his blind date was successful? If a wedding banquet was held on Misty Peak, with congratulations from all the major sects, it seems they could make a fortune just from the gift money. We're rich, we're rich." Yifeng's smile gradually became more comical. Seeing Yifeng's expression, Hu Yunji paused for a moment and said, "Sect Master Uncle, it's not much, and it doesn't exactly mean we're rich. Let's open it in the sect leader's great hall." "Open it?" Yifeng blinked, silently realizing he might have misunderstood. The surprise Hu Yunji referred to was likely unrelated to any matchmaking, his smile slowly turning stiff. A moment later, sect leader's great hall. 3 items were placed on the table, a small bag of spirit stones, an ancient text, and a talisman. "Sect Master Uncle, these are 20 spirit stones, the remnant volume of a second-grade spell, soul control technique, and a lower-grade stabilizing talisman. These 3 items are our surprise gift to you," Hu Yunji said with a smile, pointing at the items on the table. Long Tianxing followed with teasing, "Sect leader, are you surprised?" Yifeng sat in the main seat at a loss for words. He was supposed to go on a blind date, but where's the match? Surprised, of course he was surprised. With this thought, Yifeng covered his face with his hand and asked, "Indeed, it's a surprise. By the way, how did Yunji's blind date go?" "Sect Master Uncle, my blind date, of course, went cold again," Hu Yunji said, as if it were obvious. Yifeng was on the verge of tears. 9 blind dates, all of them went cold. Are you immune to matchmaking or what?" Hu Yunji scratched his head. "Immune? Is that the physique that blocks all chances? I've never heard of it before." "Neither have I." Even Mo Ying, who was well-read, frowned slightly, finding the term too unfamiliar. Finding that his disciples were seriously discussing this so-called immunity, Yifeng felt even more helpless, but he was too lazy to explain and changed the subject. "How did you come by these 3 things?" "I'm familiar with the process, let me tell everyone in detail." Long Tianxing jumped in eagerly. He danced around, narrating everything from their departure to their return. And by the end of his tale, he was parched and quickly drank a bowl of water, still eager to continue. Yifeng hurriedly told Long Tianxing to sit down and stop showing off. By this time, everyone finally learned of the trio's experiences today. Picking up the soul control technique from the table, Yifeng said, "So that's what happened, the soul-seizing sect. That must be a tricky power to deal with." After the trip through the Nanlu mountain range, he could be considered as formally entering the ranks of the element-gathering realm. But he still had only enough power to defend himself. After all, there were quite a few in the element-gathering realm around them. The appearance of this power called the Soul-Seizing Sect, which specializes in targeting the talents of various sects for assassination, gave Yifeng an ominous feeling, and he asked, "Mo Ying, do you know of the Soul-Seizing Sect?" Mo Ying nodded and said, "The Soul-Seizing Sect belongs to the evil sects. It is said that in the past, several star-level sects organized a siege against them. In the end, Saohun Zhenren still managed to escape. He vanished for a while, and I didn't expect them to resurface." This time, not only Yifeng, but the others also showed grave expressions. Recently, there have been troubles with the demon race, and now the soul-seizing sect appears. Things are getting more dangerous. But fortunately, we have the sect protection array, and we're close to Whitefloat City, so we are safe for now, Yifeng said, glancing at the mini Earth Element Slaughter array and heaving a slight sigh of relief. "Sect leader, even though this soul control technique is only a remnant volume, it is very powerful and it somewhat resembles Fox Da Hong's talent. Do you think you can complete it?" Shilei asked at this point. "Of course," Yifeng nodded, and everyone showed admiration. Yifeng felt somewhat fortunate. Thank goodness the dog system had the prestige point exchange feature, which allowed the use of prestige points to gain an understanding of spells. Otherwise, he could only bluff the disciples into practicing up to beginner level before unlocking it. "System, open the prestige points data," Yifeng murmured to himself. The next moment, the following text appeared in his vision. Sect prestige value, 2001, remaining exchangeable amount. 1851, exchange instructions. Spend sect prestige value to instantly master a spell to the perfection stage. First grade spell requires 50 points. Second grade spell requires 100 points. Seeing that the prestige points had reached 2,000, several hundred more than before, Yifeng was taken aback. What's going on? Yifeng was a bit confused. Upon reflection, he understood. It must be because of his saving those people from various sects at Nanlu Mountain Range yesterday. They spread the word, and therefore, his prestige points surged by several hundred in one day. It seems that doing good deeds or sensational things is indeed a good choice. System, I want to exchange 100 prestige points to comprehend the partial volume of soul control technique, Yifeng thought to himself. Ding, 100 prestige points spent, 1751 points remaining for exchange. The system sent out a notification sound. Soon, Yifeng felt as if he was being filled with divine insight. When he looked at the partial volume of the soul control technique, again, his eyes were bright, as if he were a true great master of magic. Actually, this soul control technique is quite straightforward. As the sect leader, I'll teach you how to cultivate it now. First of all, this spell is supportive. Once mastered, you can extend a wisp of will to control any soul or spirit weaker than your own, making them carry out your commands. It's exceptionally effective for scouting enemies, assassinations, and infiltration. The downside is that the control distance is limited and is related to one's cultivation level and soul strength. Under normal circumstances, those at the 9th layer of Qi refinement can reach up to 300 Zhang. Yifeng took out a charcoal pencil and began to draw meridian diagrams on a white stone slate that had been specifically delivered. Then he started teaching. The disciples, looking at the diagrams and notes on the slate, tried to cultivate the spell, and soon found they were able to condense a wisp of will that could explore independently of the body. The most cultivated among them, Mo Ying, found that her will could spread over nearly half of Misty Peak. However, the scope of her vision was not large, just about 10 Zhang in radius. She could attach her will to passing insects, birds, snakes, and rodents, controlling their actions and obtaining their field of vision. What a miraculous spell! After opening her eyes, Mo Ying first marveled at the spell's wonder. Then, as she looked toward Yifeng again, it was as if she were seeing a grandmaster. My sect leader is truly an anomaly. In the time it takes for half a cup of tea to steep, he deduced the complete version of a second-grade spell. Perhaps he is the reincarnation of a powerful being. I just wonder if he will discover the secret within me. Even though she was somewhat apprehensive, Mo Ying still felt that joining the Misty sect was the right decision. Over 100 li away from Beacon Fire City, here lay a stretch of mountains extending across several tens of li. In the area spanning over 10 li around the main peak, Yunhua Peak, there was a cultivation sect. Yunhua sect, at this moment in the sect master's grand hall. Sect master, that's what happened. Lin Yuyan stood within the grand hall, finally finishing her report of the events that had taken place in Beacon Fire City. At the main seat, dressed in beautiful garments, the sect master of Yunhua sect, Yunhua Zhenren, frowned slightly. He exchanged glances with several gathering realm elders sitting around, all seeing the worry in each other's eyes. The reappearance of the soul-seizing sect is not a good omen, the great elder said gravely. Indeed, and relying solely on our Yunhua sect, we are definitely no match for Saohun Zhenren. We must take precautions early, the second elder also spoke. Yunhua Zhenren nodded and said, Saohun Zhenren's cultivation level had already reached the 4th layer of element gathering, not to be underestimated. Now that he has emerged after a period of silence, no one knows to what realm he has achieved. We must inform the other sects to raise their vigilance. Yunhua Zhenren looked at Jiang Dachao kneeling beside Lin Yuyan and changed the topic. Yu Yan has merit for this mission and should be rewarded. Also, the person who caught Jiang Dachao, the direct disciple of Saohun Zhenren, is he really from the Misty sect of White Float City? Upon hearing this, everyone present turned their gaze towards Lin Yuyan. Sect Master Elders, everything Yu Yan said is true. It was indeed the work of Misty sect's disciples. Among them, one is the marriage prospect Yu Yan mentioned, said Lin Yuyan, her pretty face turning red at the end. Oh, the seated elders became restless. If what Lin Yuyan said was true, then Misty sect was certainly no ordinary minor sect. This setup would not be surprising for a middle to high-ranked sect. More importantly, Lin Yuyan's marriage prospect actually had a qi refinement level at the peak of the 7th stage, which indeed could make a good match. Of course, they would have to see for themselves to determine the truth of the matter. With this thought, Yunhua Zhenren waved his large sleeve and said, "How about this? Tomorrow the 4th elder will personally lead a team of disciples to visit Misty Sect. Claim it's just a stop along the way, and afterwards, they can make a trip to White Float City to pass on the news of the emergence of the soul-seizing sect to the deputy city lord." A woman in a modestly elegant long dress stood up and bowed, saying, "Yuzhai obeys the order, Misty Sect." Yifeng looked at his disciples who were diligently cultivating and felt very gratified. Then he picked up the lower-grade stabilizing talisman, studied it for a moment, and realized that he had no spiritual energy to activate it and had to put it away for now. He walked to the edge of the cliff and looked in the direction of Beacon Fire City. "Tomorrow will be the 7th day. It's time to go to Wuxuan Pavilion for the trade." City Lord's Mansion, White Float City. Elder Lu Shanyu of Ligun Sect and the Deputy City Lord were sitting opposite each other, with a low tea table in between. "Yesterday in the Nanlu Mountain Range, Misty Sect surely made quite an impression," said the Deputy City Lord, his face expressionless. Lu Shanyu laughed and said, "Sect Master Yi is the chosen one. He can now show the strength of the 1st level of element gathering realm. It's okay for them to stand out occasionally and make a name for Misty Sect." The Deputy City Lord said, "A man dreads fame as a pig dreads fatness. Too much fame isn't always a good thing." Lu Shanyu, however, shook his head and said, "Normally, it's better to stay low-key, but Sect Master Yi is the chosen one. Having the people's hearts makes him strong. Being high-profile is actually a good thing. Speaking of which, Misty Sect should be close to becoming a high-ranked sect with Sect Master Yi, right?" The Deputy City Lord paused slightly and then said, "So be it. Tomorrow I will send several stewards to assess the situation." Suddenly, the two stopped talking. Because Xin Guangxuan had walked in. Lu Shanyu put down his teacup. "What's the matter?" "Third Elder, there is a sword transmission from the sect master." Xin Guangxuan offered up a small flying sword with respect. Lu Shanyu took the flying sword, pinched the sword spell and tapped it lightly a few times, and the flying sword immediately burst out with a rosy glow, turning into the upper body of an elderly phantom in midair and emitting an authoritative voice. "Third Elder, be advised, the soul-seizing sect has appeared again, and many talented disciples from various sects have been assassinated. We must take extra precautions." Having said that, the glow vanished, and the previous vision disappeared as if it were an illusion. Soul-seizing sect. Both the Deputy City Lord and Lu Shanyu's expressions darkened. Although everyone clamors against the soul-seizing sect, its sect leader, Saohun Zhenren, has a formidable reputation. Previously, both White Float City and Ligun Sect were involved in the siege against him, but unfortunately let him slip away. With the reappearance of the soul-seizing sect, it shows that Saohun Zhenren's strength has largely recovered. "This is going to be troublesome," said Lu Shanyu. "We must dispatch more personnel and bolster our defenses." "What about the demon-slaying conference?" asked the Deputy City Lord. Lu Shanyu stroked his beard. "Of course, it should proceed. We can add a rule that slaying soul-seizing sect disciples will earn double the points compared to slaying demonic beasts of the same level. Discovering the whereabouts of Saohun Zhenren will likewise be rewarded with a large number of points." The Deputy City Lord smiled and said, "Good idea." Soon, this news spread throughout the city. After leaving the City Lord's mansion, Xin Guangxuan immediately flew on his sword towards Misty Peak, and soon he beheld the Great Protective Shield. Using a mini-Earth element slaughter array as the sect protection array, such extravagance! Xin Guangxuan's mouth twitched. He had heard about the exploits of the Misty sect in the Nanlu Mountain Range, and knew that Yifeng had single-handedly turned the tide, repelling 2 demi-transformed demon beasts and confiscating the half-finished mini-Earth element slaughter array. But this was indeed the first time he had seen someone use a killing array as a sect protection array, and to have it activated at all times to boot. One word: extravagant. Soon, Xin Guangxuan arrived outside the shield. Since Yifeng had left an entrance on the stairway up the mountain, Xin Guangxuan walked straight in and cupped his hands towards Yifeng on the rooftop. "Sect Master Yi, I have something important to discuss with you." "Oh, if it isn't Brother Xin, what's the matter?" Yifeng jumped down from the rooftop and asked. "I've just received news that people from the soul-seizing sect have appeared. You all must be very careful." Xin Guangxuan immediately conveyed his reason for coming. "The soul-seizing sect, we are aware of them. Yifeng said, startling Xin Guangxuan. Seeing his expression, Yifeng briefly explained the disciples' experiences in Beacon Fire City. Upon hearing that Hu Yunji and the others had captured Jiang Dachao, a personal disciple of Shaohun Zhenren from the soul-seizing sect, Xin Guangxuan gasped, "This is not good. If Shaohun Zhenren learns of this matter, Misty Sect will also become a target." Yifeng thought it over and realized that might indeed be the case, but he felt that with the protection of the Great Array, it shouldn't be a problem, so he said, "No worries, I have the mini-Earth Element Slaughter Array shielding us." Xin Guangxuan covered his face with his hand. "This Great Array is only half finished. It can't stop someone from the element-gathering realm. Oh right, I heard the Deputy City Lord will send someone tomorrow to assess your sect for high-ranked sect promotion." "Is that so?" Yifeng remembered that one of the conditions for promotion to high-ranked sect was that the sect leader must have reached the first level of the element-gathering realm. In addition, the sect must possess 1 second-grade spell, 10 first-grade spells, and at least 3 spiritual artifacts. At this stage, it appeared that Misty Sect met all the conditions. Xin Guangxuan chuckled. "It seems like Misty Sect meets the conditions, so congratulations in advance on Misty Sect's promotion. Remember, Sect Master Yi, you'll have to invite me for drinks, and perhaps we can go sightseeing at that kind of place." With that, Xin Guangxuan winked at Yifeng. Yifeng was stunned. "What kind of place?" "That kind of place." Xin Guangxuan gestured with his hands in the air. Yifeng instantly understood and looked at Xin Guangxuan with a "you're really too cheeky" expression. In the time that followed, after Xin Guangxuan mentioned that killing soul-seizing sect disciples would earn double points, he had a cup of tea in the sect leader's great hall and then promptly flew away on his sword. Even Whitefloat City is aware of the soul-seizing sect's emergence. The news sure spreads fast. Yifeng looked towards the direction of Whitefloat City, murmuring to himself. That day, Yifeng began to inspect the sect. He had intended to hide the purifying green lotus and the jade bamboo shoot, but then thought that since Misty Sect was on the brink of becoming a high-ranked sect, it didn't matter if others knew about them. After all, every high-ranked sect was bound to have similar heavenly materials and earthly treasures, so it was nothing unusual. Yifeng later gathered the disciples and informed them of the upcoming assessment for the sect so as to prepare them. Learning that their sect might be promoted to a high-ranked sect, the disciples excitedly jumped up and down on the spot. In order to ensure a smooth assessment, Yifeng consulted Mo Ying to understand the details of the assessment and ascertain anything that might be missing, leaving no stone unturned. Next morning at dawn, after breakfast, Yifeng changed into a clean and tidy white robe, and with a flick of his finger, a spirit sword soared into the air. He stepped onto the sword, slowly ascending, as if he were practicing the art of sword flying. The white robe fluttered with a sound, adding a touch of the aura of a superior being. This wasn't because Yifeng had mastered the sword control technique, but rather because he could control the spirit sword with his heroic spirit power to hover, and then step on it to achieve flight. However, Yifeng also discovered a rather painful problem. Heroic spirit power couldn't make him fly directly. No matter how often he tried, he couldn't manage to hover in midair on his own. He could only use the sword as a means to leave the ground, and even then, his current speed of flight wasn't particularly fast. Regarding this, Yifeng felt there must be a correct way to unlock this ability that he hadn't figured out yet. At that moment, Mo Ying reminded him, "Sect leader, someone is coming." Yifeng's heart leaped with joy, and he looked in the direction Mo Ying was pointing, only to be puzzled. Why are they coming from the direction of Beacon Fire City? It seems it's not the evaluation team from the sects of Whitefloat City. Mo Ying became alert, already holding the core formation flag in her hand, ready to control the formation at any moment. At this time, Hu Yunji looked toward the newcomers and spotted a familiar figure among them. "It's Lin Yuyan." As soon as this statement was made, Yifeng and the others were full of confusion. Lin Yuyan. Wasn't she the talented disciple from Yunhua sect? What sudden visit is this? Could it be that the matchmaking was unsuccessful, and feeling unhappy, she specifically came to pick a fight? High up in the distance, Yunhua sect's fourth elder Liu Yuzhai stood with her hands behind her back on an enormous banana leaf, with 3 disciples standing behind her, each boasting a qi refinement of the 7th layer. Seeing the protective formation shield at the summit of Misty Peak from afar, Liu Yuzhai couldn't help but grow suspicious. "Yu Yan, are you sure this is Misty Sect? How could a lower-ranked sect possibly have a sect protection array?" Responding to my master, the address I acquired from the Hue residence is indeed this place, Lin Yuyan said respectfully. After joining Yunhua sect, Lin Yuyan had been taken in by fourth elder Liu Yuzhai and was highly regarded. Hearing this, Liu Yuzhai tapped her chin lightly. Then let's go take a look. A moment later, the gigantic banana leaf hovered above the summit of Misty Peak. Liu Yuzhai and the people of Yunhua sect watched Yi Feng, who was hovering on his sword, and found that this person, with his clothes fluttering and handsome appearance, had no spiritual energy fluctuations around him. Yet he could soar with his sword, which was quite extraordinary. What a unique presence! Liu Yuzhai felt a chill in her heart. Even I can't detect this person's cultivation level. Could it be that he's a stronger individual of the element-gathering realm at the second or third layer? With this thought, Liu Yuzhai immediately cupped her hands and said, I am Liu Yuzhai, the fourth elder from Yunhua sect, here with 3 disciples of the sect to pay a visit to the Misty sect. So it's an elder from Yunhua sect. I am Yi Feng, the sect leader of Misty sect. Please come in. With that, Yi Feng waved his large sleeve. Mo Ying understood and promptly opened the shield, allowing Liu Yuzhai and her group to enter, where they stood in the open space before the main gate. Brother Hue, we meet again, Lin Yuyan said as she greeted Hue Yunji. Fortunate indeed, Hue Yunji nodded. The rest eyed each other. Liu Yuzhai, with the highest cultivation level and possessing spiritual sense, could even without trying deliberately discern the cultivation levels of Misty Sect's top 10 disciples. Although there are few disciples in the Misty Sect, each one is at least at the peak of the 4th layer in Qi refinement, with 3 above the 7th layer. Indeed remarkable. Moreover, they have a sect protection array, which, although not very impressive, means that overall it should at least be at the level of a high-ranked sect. Liu Yuzhai analyzed in her mind. Roar! Suddenly, a roar full of excitement came from the backyard. The next moment, Brother Flathead, accompanied by the other 7 mountain guardian spirit beasts, charged forward with an imposing momentum, causing the Yunhua sect disciples' complexions to drastically change. These are guests, they're not here to fight. Yi Feng quickly waved his hands at Brother Flathead. Upon hearing they couldn't fight, Brother Flathead's vigor deflated. He stood upright, waving his paws haphazardly as if to say, If we're not fighting, what are you here for? After roaring, he dejectedly trotted back to the backyard. These are the mountain guardian spirit beasts of your sect. They look very mighty, truly enviable, Liu Yuzhai said, her voice containing a hint of surprise. She could tell that these 8 spirit beasts were strong, and for Misty Sect to have tamed so many of them, it couldn't be simple. They are just ordinary spirit beasts. Elder Yu Yan flatters us too much. Yi Feng waved his hand dismissively. Just as he was about to speak further, he saw Steward Zhou Jiaqian leading a team towards Misty Peak, his face breaking into a delighted smile. Ladies and gentlemen, the sect evaluation team has arrived. The people of Yunhua sect, upon hearing this, finally looked up at the sect sign and noticed that Misty sect only had a willow leaf emblem, confirming the rumors that it was indeed a lower-ranked sect. A lower-ranked sect that possesses the foundation of a high-ranked sect, and this surrounding nature's spiritual energy is also very rich. Plus, they have a sect leader whose cultivation level even I can't see through, truly not simple, Liu Yuzhai thought secretly. Moreover, they are clearly very strong, so why have they only now applied for the recognition as a high-ranked sect? Soon enough, Zhou Jiaqian arrived at the peak, accompanied by 5 stewards of the Qi refinement 7th layer. Sect Master Yi, we are here under the Deputy City Lord's orders to conduct the high-ranked sect evaluation for Misty Sect. Is your sect convenient for assessment today? Zhou Jiaqian asked with a glowing face. After speaking, he noticed Liu Yuzhai to the side and greeted her with a bow. So it's the 4th elder of Yunhua sect. What a pleasure to meet you. Steward Zhou, long time no see. Liu Yuzhai nodded in greeting. Witnessing that even the people from White Float City's City Lord's mansion were so polite to Yi Feng, the disciples of Yunhua sect were shocked once again. At that moment, Yi Feng said, It's no trouble. The sect evaluation and certification can be carried out today. Just by becoming a high-ranked sect, not to mention other advantages, just a miniature sect protection array alone would definitely become a defensive weapon for Misty Sect. Therefore, Yi Feng didn't care whether there were outsiders watching or not. In a word, just do it. Very well, we will start the evaluation for Misty Sect then, Steward Zhou said with a smile on his face. Seeing that Liu Yuzhai had more to say but stopped herself, Yi Feng said, Please wait a moment for our guests from Yunhua Sect. Don't worry, Sect Master Yi, we're just here to watch and won't disturb anything. Liu Yuzhai said with a wave of her hand, signaling the Yunhua sect disciples to step back a distance, ready to take the opportunity to observe. Steward Zhou then took out a document and read, "Today's evaluation is for the lower rank sect Misty Sect, which has been established for 30 years. The founding sect leader has passed away, and the current sect leader is the old sect leader's junior brother Yifeng, who currently has 10 disciples and 8 mountain guardian spirit beasts." This information was sent to them the day before by Huo Yunji as per Yifeng's instructions, as a pre-assessment review. Steward Zhou continued, "The sect evaluation has 3 parts: sect leader's strength, the grade and quantity of spells and spiritual artifacts. This morning, the Deputy City Lord personally stated that Sect Master Yi of Misty Sect is the chosen one, so the sect leader's strength part is directly passed." Upon hearing this, the disciples of Misty Sect were first stunned, then they all jumped up excitedly. "The chosen one?" The disciples of Yunhua sect all widened their eyes in shock. "No wonder I couldn't discern Yifeng's cultivation level. It turns out he is the rare chosen one, even rarer than those in the element gathering realm." Liu Yuzhe's mind was in turmoil. She remembered that the southern river basin hadn't seen a chosen one for thousands of years. If Yifeng really was the chosen one, the significance of this fact was as momentous as the reappearance of the soul-seizing sect. Steward Zhou went on to say, "The second part, the detection of spells. As long as Misty Sect possesses 10 complete ancient tomes of first-grade spells and 1 second-grade spell, or masters the same number and grade of spells, it will be considered a pass for the assessment." Yifeng immediately extended his arms and ordered, "Disciples of Misty Sect, heed my command and show your skills." "Yes." The 10 disciples positioned themselves separately. In the next moment, they began to cast their spells. Fire Cloud Palm, Iron Shield Technique, Wind Spirit Steps, Backstab, Streaming Light Sword Chi, Spiritual Flying Blade, Binding Spirit Rope, Mystic Shell Shield, Earth Escape, Vitality Bullet. Except for all-dimensional spiritual perception, all the other first-grade spells were used, and each was performed to at least a major achievement level. Such a high level of proficiency, is this really a lower-rank sect? Liu Yuzhai and the 3 disciples from Yunhua sect were once again astonished. They had personally witnessed disciples from star-level sects. Although there were geniuses among them, there were also mediocre ones. On average, Misty Sect's standard could leave other sects far behind. Sect Master Yi truly deserves to be a great master of magic. The number of spells your disciples have mastered is vast, and all are performed to major achievement, too impressive, Steward Zhou praised. The other 5 stewards also nodded, indicating they had never seen such a powerful lower-rank sect. Such a sect, even without the special favor of the Deputy City Lord, could easily rise to a high-ranked sect. The disciples of the Misty Sect are formidable. There's no question they'll be promoted to a high-ranked sect, a steward from the City Lord's mansion said. Absolutely, our visit this time is just a formality, another steward muttered. After all, which sect with a chosen one wouldn't be granted the promotion to high rank? At that moment, Steward Zhou nodded and spoke. The Misty Sect has already mastered 10 first-grade spells. Next up is the assessment for the second-grade spells. Please begin. Let me do it. Jia Yulan stepped forward, her hands forming seals, her body radiating a spiritual light that transformed into countless pink petals. Under the astonished gazes of the onlookers, the petals interwove to form a bird carrying Jia Yulan aloft. She soared high in the sky, circling gracefully. The petal wings flapped, giving one the impression they could cleave through mountains. Isn't that the second-grade spell? Falling blooms in profusion. Liu Yuzhai rubbed her eyes and confirmed after repeated careful observation that the spell Jia Yulan performed was indeed a perfected version of falling blooms in profusion. She was greatly shaken by this revelation. She had heard of this spell. Legend had it that a fairy created these incomplete scrolls and stated that only someone destined could perfect falling blooms in profusion. Could it be that this female disciple is the fairy's destined individual? Liu Yuzhai speculated, but did not voice it aloud. Whoosh, Jia Yulan descended from the sky, petals scattering around her, making her appear like a fluttering fairy as she asked, "Steward Zhou, how was that?" "The second assessment passed." Steward Zhou immediately provided the appraisal result. Next is the quantity assessment of spiritual artifacts, which the Misty Sect is exempted from. Not only Yifeng and the Misty Sect's disciples found it unexpected at this announcement, but members from the Yunhua sect and others were also so astonished that their mouths fell open. Exempted, why? Seeing the confusion on everyone's faces, Steward Joe explained. The Misty Sect has a mini Earth element slaughter array, which despite being a half-finished product, is already valued far beyond 3 lower-grade spiritual artifacts. There's no need to waste time on appraisals. After a pause, Steward Joe announced loudly, "Following this evaluation, the Misty Sect is granted a direct promotion from a lower-ranked sect to a high-ranked sect, effective tomorrow. Congratulations to the Misty Sect on becoming the 4th high-ranked sect of Whitefloat City." At his words, there was silence all around. "We're being promoted to a high-ranked sect just like that?" The Misty Sect disciples still couldn't believe it. It felt like a dream. The conditions for a sect's promotion to high rank are actually not simple. Having an element-gathering realm, mastering 11 spells, and possessing 3 lower-grade spiritual artifacts, the last 2 requirements are manageable as most middle-rank sects could achieve them. Even some of the ancient lower-rank sects could accumulate the necessary resources. However, it was the requirement of having an element-gathering realm presiding over the sect that barred 99% of sects, marking the toughest barrier to cross. And it was only because the Misty Sect had Yi Feng, an exceptionally talented individual, that they could achieve this promotion so quickly. Realizing this, the Misty Sect's disciples quickly suppressed the smiles on their faces, not daring to be arrogant. At that moment, Yi Feng stood rooted to the spot. For just as Steward Joe declared the Misty Sect had passed the assessment, the dog system also broadcast a prompt. "Ding, congratulations to the sect leader on completing the first stage mission. Rewards include 1 miniature world remodeling, 1 miniature sect protection array, the second Chi C middle volume, 10 consolidating origin pills, and 1 special small gift pack. Please continue to strive hard, sect leader, and aim to become the strongest sect leader in history." After speaking, the system went silent. As for the rewards, they were sent directly to the system space, waiting for Yi Feng's retrieval. Liu Yuzhai and Lin Yuyan and others stood nearby, bearing witness as the Misty Sect achieved the leap to become a brand-new high-ranked sect. "Master, isn't the Misty Sect the first sect in the entire Southern River Basin to achieve such a leap in rank?" Lin Yuyan asked quietly. Liu Yuzhai nodded slightly. "You're not wrong. In the Southern River Basin, sect promotions usually follow due process. Only the Misty Sect has been promoted directly from lower to high rank. However, even though it's labeled as a high-ranked sect, it's still just the beginning for a sect." Lin Yuyan and the other 2 Yunhua sect disciples all deeply agreed. After reaching the status of a high-ranked sect, the disparity in overall standards between sects is significant. Take the Misty Sect and Yunhua sect, for example. Whether it's the number of disciples, the number of practitioners in the element-gathering realm, or foundational infrastructure, Yunhua sect is far ahead of Misty Sect. Even among high-ranked sects, the gaps can often be huge. After announcing the promotion of Misty Sect to a high-ranked sect, Steward Joe noticed that Yi Feng seemed to be stunned, so he cleared his throat and asked, "Sect Master Yi, we have taken down the sect's plaque. We will deliver a brand new one tomorrow, and the entire city will be notified of this event. What do you think?" Yi Feng came back to his senses and said, "That's fine, thank you. Then we shall take our leave now." Steward Joe immediately took down the plaque of Misty Sect and greeted Liu Yuzhai before leading the other 5 stewards away, using the light body technique. At the summit of Misty Peak, only the Misty Sect disciples and Liu Yuzhai's group remained. "Congratulations on your sect's elevation to high rank. I will personally come to offer congratulations when the title is conferred tomorrow. As for now, we have urgent matters to attend to and must take our leave," said Liu Yuzhai abruptly, leaving her 3 disciples utterly puzzled. Although Yi Feng also found it a bit strange, he did not insist on them staying. Not long after, Liu Yuzhai led her disciples flying towards Whitefloat City. On the way, Lin Yuyan asked with confusion, "Master, why didn't we stay at Misty Sect a bit longer?" Liu Yuzhai shook her head. "We must first convey the news of the emergence of the soul-seizing sect to the Deputy City Lord of Whitefloat City, and because Misty Sect will be conferred the status of a high-ranked sect tomorrow, we must return to our sect today to inform our sect master of this matter." "Are we going to come over to offer congratulations tomorrow?" Lin Yuyan understood. "Yes, whenever a high-ranked sect is established, neighboring sects and even greater sects come to congratulate. The purpose is to befriend the element-gathering realm expert residing in that sect. Disciples, do you understand the reasoning behind this?" Liu Yuzhai said with profound meaning. "Thank you for the teachings, Master." Lin Yuyan and the other 2 sect members quickly expressed their gratitude. At the City Lord's mansion of White Float City, Liu Yuzhai sat in the guest seat and explained her purpose. The Deputy City Lord smiled and said, "Thank you, Elder Yuzhai, for making the trip personally. Yesterday, the sect leader of the Ligun sect already sent the message with a flying sword, instructing us to be on high alert. Even the sect leader of the Ligun sect has been alerted." Liu Yuzhai felt a chill in her heart. "It seems that this matter is more serious than I imagined. Indeed, this situation is more serious than ever before. Unfortunately, the City Lord is in seclusion, and it's unknown when he will come out. Only he is capable of fighting Sauhun Zhenren in our White Float City," said the Deputy City Lord solemnly. Liu Yuzhai also realized the gravity of the situation. "Do not panic, there will be countermeasures." At that moment, Elder Lu Shanyu of Ligun sect emerged from behind a folding screen with a smile on his face. Upon seeing him, Liu Yuzhai immediately got up with a look of surprise. "Elder Lu, what brings you here?" "I was sent on a mission, and because of urgent tasks, I could not detour to visit Yunhua sect," said Lu Shanyu, stroking his beard with a smile. "Cousin Lu, you two know each other?" the Deputy City Lord asked in confusion. Lu Shanyu nodded. "Decades ago, I was injured while adventuring in the outside world, and it was Yuzhai who saved me." So there was such an incident, the Deputy City Lord realized. At the summit of Misty Peak, Yifeng washed his hands clean with spiritual water and secluded himself in the sect leader's great hall to check the rewards from this mission. "System, open the sect storage space," Yifeng ordered silently. The next moment, 5 rays of light appeared on the table. There are a total of 5 rewards, which are Miniature World Remodeling ×1, Miniature Sect Protection Array ×1, the second Chi-C Middle Volume, Consolidating Origin Pill ×10, Special Small Gift Pack ×1. "Let's start with the first one," Yifeng murmured to himself. He stretched out his hand and touched one of the light spheres on the table, and immediately several lines of text appeared in his view. World Remodeling, Miniature Usage Count. 1. Function. It can remodel the terrain and landscape of a region to nurture a miniature spirit vein, ensuring that the area within 100 meters becomes a blessed land for cultivation. After reading the introduction, Yifeng's mouth dropped open and he said, "So it's terrain remodeling, and it can even nurture a miniature spirit vein. This seems to be even better than heavenly materials and earthly treasures like purifying green lotus and jade bamboo shoot. Heavenly materials and earthly treasures are often products that accompany spirit veins. With a spirit vein, one can continuously nurture heavenly materials and earthly treasures. Once Yifeng remodels Misty Peak, the growth rate of purifying green lotus and jade bamboo shoot will also speed up. Next is the Miniature Sect Protection Array." Yifeng reached out and touched the second light sphere, and text immediately appeared in his line of sight. Name: 5 Elements Continuous Array Grade, Miniature Function. A composite formation made up of the power of the 5 elements: metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, constantly changing and difficult to decipher. Only a forceful attack can break through. It has multiple functions such as illusion, shield, and 5 elements trap and kill. Note: this formation has been improved by the system. Only the first use requires the insertion of 5 middle-grade spirit stones to activate the array. Afterwards, the formation can absorb the spiritual energy of nature and store it in the central hub of the array, eliminating the need to replace the spirit stones. As Yifeng finished reading about the 5 elements continuous array and marveled at the excellence of the formation, he noticed that the light sphere in his hand began to expand and finally became a 5-colored checkerboard-like disc. Corresponding to the 5 elements, there was a slot for embedding middle-grade spirit stones. Yifeng did not rush to use it, but instead touched the 3rd light sphere, turning it into an ancient tome titled The Second Chi-C Middle Volume. "Finally, I got the middle volume. Once the disciples cultivate this, the capacity of their Chi-C can be 2/3 more than others at the same level." As he spoke, Yifeng touched the 4th light sphere, turning it into a jade vial containing 10 consolidating origin pills, all of lower grade. With these consolidating origin pills, the disciples' success rate in breaking through to the element-gathering realm will be much higher, Yifeng said with a slight upward curve of his lips. He moved his hand to touch the last light sphere. "Let's see what treasures are inside the special small gift pack," Yifeng said, full of anticipation. Buzz, the last light sphere trembled and dropped several items. "Ding, you have opened the special small gift pack and received a lower-grade spirit sword. Cold light sword ×1, lower grade storage rings ×3, Jade spirit grass seeds that have a 100% survival rate times 100. Special cooking utensils times 1. Yifeng heard the notification sound in his mind while looking at the new items that had appeared on the table. With a whoosh, he sharply inhaled. "System, you call this a small gift pack?" Yifeng complained. "Sect leader, you completed the first stage of the task ahead of time, so the reward for the small gift pack has been doubled," the system explained. Yifeng thought to himself that it was indeed the case and asked, "By the way, are there no new tasks?" The system remained silent. "It seems that right now I only have the Spirit Beast Pavilion's Prestige Points task. Once the Prestige Points exceed 10,000 and the third stage of the Spirit Beast Pavilion is unlocked, new features will be added," Yifeng murmured to himself. He then began to take an inventory of what he received in the small gift pack. Who should I give the lower-grade Spirit Sword, Cold Light Sword to? That's right, Hugh Yunji also uses a sword, I'll give it to him. There are 3 lower-grade storage rings, each with a storage space of 3 cubic meters, which is not bad. They can be given to Shilei, Mo Ying, Jia Yulan. No, Jia Yulan has a storage belt, so it should go to Long Tianxing. Jade spirit grass seeds with 100% survival rate, watered with special spiritual liquid, can accelerate growth and are perfect for planting in the backyard. I'll have Jia Yulan lead Zia He, Qiu Zhu, Aoyang Feng, and Aoyang Yu to take care of them. Perhaps we can even start creating a nascent spiritual medicine garden. A set of special cooking utensils, this seems tailor-made for Li Jiao Jiao. I'll give it to her. Yifeng quickly had all these rewards allocated clearly. An hour later, Mo Ying stood on the grass, effortlessly facing the combined attack of Jia Yulan and Hugh Yunji alone. Jia Yulan used falling blooms in profusion, turning countless petals into a pink flower sword slashing down, but Mo Ying cleaved through them with sword chi. Hugh Yunji executed the streaming light sword chi, wielding the spirit sword lent by Yifeng, repeatedly striking but still parried by Mo Ying. Clang, the breeze-riding sword suddenly accelerated, hovering 3 inches in front of Jia Yulan's forehead. With just a thrust, it could end her life. Jia Yulan patted her chest, shaken. "Let's stop, senior sister Mo is too formidable. Even with the 2 of us teaming up, we're no match." Hugh Yunji also sheathed his spirit sword, saying, "Indeed, junior sister Mo's sword control technique is too strong. Numbers alone are no match for her." Boom. Just then, Misty Peak suddenly shook. All 10 disciples and 8 spiritual beasts were alarmed and ran to the clearing, only to find that even the mini-Earth element slaughter array had been broken, all formation flags returning on their own, landing in front of Mo Ying. As for the bottom of the mountain, boulders flew up, crashing towards the peak. "Not good, get out of the way!" The disciples, hearts leaping to their throats upon seeing the boulders, but in the next moment they saw Yifeng step onto a flying sword and rise into the air, issuing a convincing voice. "Don't panic, it's a small problem." Then, as the boulders neared the peak, they automatically shattered, blending into the cliffs at the top of the peak. Some uneven places also quickly smoothed out as if stroked by an invisible hand. By the riverside at the foot of the mountain, the recently relocated villagers of Lin Village looked up to see dozens of boulders rising into the sky, then scattering as they neared the top of Misty Peak, transforming the topography of the peak. "It's a miracle." "Nonsense. This isn't a miracle, this is the immortal masters of the Misty Sect displaying their divine skills, remodeling the land." "Isn't that a miracle then?" The villagers of Lin Village debated, looking back up at the peak with awe in their eyes. At that moment at the top of Misty Peak, the disciples climbed onto rooftops, discovering that the previously uneven peak had now become flat, with the top transformed into a regular circle with a diameter of 200 meters, significantly enlarging the main body of Misty Peak itself. Yifeng hung high in the sky, looking down. The top of Misty Peak had now become a platform 200 meters in diameter, with its usable area increased several times over. Gurgle, but it didn't end there. The disciples noticed the several-meter-tall rock in the backyard beginning to extend, as if a divine dragon was roaring towards the sky. The pool also became larger and deeper, emitting water rich with spiritual energy, forming a spiritual energy vortex that covered the entire peak, speeding up the growth of the purifying green lotus and jade bamboo shoots, like the pearl in the mouth of a divine dragon. "This pool has actually become a real spiritual spring." The most knowledgeable Mo Ying was the first to exclaim in surprise, drawing the attention of all the disciples. The book goes live tomorrow at noon. Please subscribe. Indeed, this is a spiritual spring. Yifeng descended from the sky and pointed at the pool transformed into a spiritual spring. The heroic spirits learned that our misty sect was advancing to a high-ranked sect, Grinning Springs, and then descended Qi Yun to transform everything around us. Yifeng felt that his ability to lie with a straight face was getting better and better. The reason Misty Peak underwent this change was naturally due to the one-time use of miniature world remodeling, which had nothing to do with the heroic spirits. Mo Ying was skeptical. Did the heroic spirits really do all this? Yifeng continued to spout nonsense earnestly. Of course it was the work of the heroic spirits. They told me that Misty Peak has been transformed into a spirit vein, and this spiritual spring is the eye of Spirit Vein. Just with this fact alone, our Misty sect has taken a big step forward on the path to becoming a star-level sect. A spirit vein? All the other disciples gasped in astonishment. Spirit veins are classified into 6 grades: miniature, small, medium, large, super large, and saint. Even the weakest miniature spirit vein can continuously release abundant nature's spiritual energy and has the capital to open a spiritual medicine field. For a high-ranked sect to advance to a star-level sect, at least one miniature spirit vein is required, and this is also one of the mandatory conditions for advancement. As far as I know, the reason why White Float City became a 1-star force is because the City Lord's mansion has a miniature spirit vein in its backyard mountain, and that mysterious City Lord is cultivating in seclusion there. Huo Yunjai explained. The old sect leader had shared this information with them before. But there is a saying, a man with nothing to his name is free from guilt, possessing a treasure brings about wrong. We're just a high-ranked sect, yet we have a miniature spirit vein. Won't we become the target of covetous forces? The 8th disciple, Ziahe, worriedly said. Mo Ying pointed to the formation flags on the ground. At this stage, the mini-earth element slaughter array's power is already insufficient. If a strong enemy does come, we simply won't be able to withstand them. Aoyang Feng was startled, his complexion turning slightly pale. Won't the City Lord's mansion of White Float City stand up for us? Mo Ying shook her head. When it comes to a dispute over a spirit vein, even star-level sects will get involved. The City Lord's mansion might want to help, but it's uncertain if they can. To think of the worst, can we be sure that the City Lord's mansion will take our side? Upon hearing this, a chill ran through everyone. They looked at Yifeng, but saw he was standing leisurely by the spiritual spring without any sign of worry. Sect leader, aren't you worried? Mo Ying asked. Yifeng shook his head, flicked his finger, and all the middle-grade spirit stones embedded in the mini-earth element slaughter array's flagpoles flew out, 12 in total, hovering in midair. There's actually nothing to worry about, Yifeng said, revealing a 5-colored disc in his palm, then embedded 5 middle-grade spirit stones into it. Is this an array plate? Mo Ying exclaimed in surprise. What is an array plate? The surrounding disciples asked one after another. Mo Ying stared at the 5 elements continuous array's array plate and explained. An array plate is the command center of a formation, easier to control than the core formation flags with less consumption of spiritual energy. Normally, it's only compound formations that use an array plate. I have no idea where the sect leader got it from. This is a 5 elements continuous array, acquired during my travels in my younger years. It has multiple functions, and I've only brought it out today. Yifeng continued his tall tale. He had been brought back by the old sect leader, and any odd and unique items that appeared in the future could be explained using this reason. While it sounded far-fetched, the more he bluffed, the better. As for whether others believed him or not, Yifeng didn't care. 5 elements continuous array activate? Yifeng tapped the center depression of the array plate with his finger, and immediately 5 dazzling beams of light burst forth, plunging into the ground and the air above. Soon, a ring of white fog appeared around them, enveloping the top of Misty Peak and continuing to spread. This fog was quite peculiar. Standing on Misty Peak, as long as one activated their spirit eyes, the fog before their eyes seemed to vanish into thin air without any obstruction. From a distance, Misty Peak appeared to be shrouded in a thick fog starting from halfway up the mountain, all the way to the peak top, impenetrable even with the use of spirit eyes. After setting up the formation, Yifeng noticed the array plate actively absorbing the nature's spiritual energy around, channeling it into the 5 nearly depleted middle-grade spirit stones. In no time, the spiritual energy of these spirit stones returned to a brimming state. Afterward, any excess spiritual energy would be pumped into the spiritual energy storage space of the array plate. As for how much it could hold, Yifeng didn't know yet. Is this formation just a piece of fog? I'm worried it could be breached, Jia Yulan expressed her concern. This is a miniature world remodeling formation. I can't vouch for anything else, but just this fog alone can trap anyone below the fourth layer of the element gathering realm, said Yifeng, indicating to the disciples that they needn't worry. If we encounter a powerhouse at the fourth layer of the element gathering realm or higher, we can then activate the formations, entrap and kill, feature, which should be able to handle strong cultivators at the fourth or fifth layer of the element gathering realm. Hearing that the 5 elements continuous array was powerful, the disciples let out a sigh of relief. With this 5 elements continuous array in place, we don't have to worry about danger for the time being. Next, I have some things for you. Yifeng took out the lower-grade spirit sword, cold light sword, lower-grade storage rings, and special cooking utensils, and distributed them to Hu Yunji, Mo Ying, Shilei, Long Tianxing, and Li Jiao, according to the previous plan. What a sharp spirit sword, thank you, sect master uncle, for bestowing this treasure, said Hu Yunji, holding the cold light sword, unable to put it down. These storage rings have quite large spaces inside. We can fit quite a lot of stuff now. Thank you, sect leader, said Mo Ying, Shilei, and Long Tianxing as they examined their rings with gleaming eyes. Li Jiao, looking at the set of special cooking utensils, felt as if they had become one with her and couldn't help but throw herself onto Yifeng. Everyone saw this scene and all widened their eyes. Realizing her lapse, Li Jiao blushed, hurriedly jumped away, and while lifting the hair beside her temples, she said in a tiny mosquito's voice, "Sect Master Uncle can rest assured I will definitely pursue the path of a spirit chef. Just keep working hard." Yifeng nodded his head. Jia Yulan, Zia He, Qiu Ju, Ouyang Yu, and Ouyang Feng, who hadn't received any treasures, stood to one side, watching eagerly. Seeing this, Yifeng smiled and said, "You have something too, but it's a bit special." With that, he took out a small wooden box. Everyone quickly gathered around and discovered that inside there were 100 spirit seeds the size of longan fruits, a vibrant green and emitting a rich fragrance. "Sect leader, are these for us to eat?" Jia Yulan picked up a spirit seed, ready to pop it into her mouth. Yifeng hastened to stop her, saying, "Don't, these aren't for eating. These are the spirit seeds of jade spirit grass, blessed by heroic spirits, guaranteed 100% survival rate. Using the spiritual liquid from the spiritual spring to water them, they can grow faster." "Jade spirit grass?" Jia Yulan's eyes lit up. "I know of this spirit grass. Legend has it that when jade spirit grass matures, its flowers open into 9 petals, containing pure spiritual power, and it can be used as a substitute for spirit stones in cultivation." "Is it really that magical?" The other disciples were surprised. "There are 100 jade spirit grass spirit seeds here. You 5 take them and try to grow them. The responsibility of starting our Misty Sect's first spiritual medicine field falls to you," Yifeng began to entice. "You, Lan, you'll be in charge of the spiritual medicine garden." "Me? In charge?" Jia Yulan was dreamlike. Then she earnestly said, "I will not disappoint the expectations of the sect leader." She felt that the sect leader must want to train her to be the future master of the spiritual medicine garden. In other sects, this would be a position of an elder's level. Thinking this, Jia Yulan's heart felt sweet as if she had eaten honey. "Sect leader, I'll choose a plot of land on the peak for the initial spirit medicine garden." Jia Yulan was full of drive as she lifted her skirt, preparing to start cultivating a medicinal field. "Don't rush. The development of the medicinal field can be delayed for now. I think you need to acquire some knowledge from the ancient texts. As for now, I have another gift for all of you." Yifeng pulled out an ancient book. When the disciples saw the words on the cover, they held their breath. Shilei said excitedly, "It's the second Qi-Si middle volume. If I can master it, my Qi-Si's capacity will be 2/3 larger than others of my level." Ever since he acquired the mysterious turtle shield, Shilei realized that using a spiritual artifact consumed a lot, and his Qi-Si somewhat fell short. Now with the second Qi-Si middle volume, he finally didn't fear consumption anymore. "I'll personally teach the second Qi-Si middle volume first. Once you've mastered it, it won't be too late to do other things." With that, Yifeng entered the sect leader's great hall. The disciples followed closely and took their seats. They watched as Yifeng tapped the lecture board, explaining in detail. In the afternoon, the sunshine was bright. The disciples were still diligently practicing the second Qi-Si middle volume. Yifeng stood alone outside the sect leader's great hall, ready to head to the Wuxuan Pavilion in Beacon Fire City for the appointment. At that moment, Jia Yulan left the great hall. "You came out so quickly. Have you learned it all already?" Yi Feng asked. Jia Yulan shook her head and then nodded. I've basically learned it, but cultivation is not something that can be accomplished overnight. I plan to go to the City Lord's Mansion Scripture Pavilion first and spend some money to borrow ancient texts related to cultivating spiritual medicines. Seeing her so earnest, Yi Feng suddenly became stern and asked, Are you really planning to take the path of cultivating spiritual medicines? One can never have too many skills, and it's good to learn more. Jia Yulan replied with a beautiful smile. Sect leader, you agree, right? That's true, but cultivation is still the priority. You have to distinguish between primary and secondary. Yi Feng nodded. Then, as if he remembered something, he pulled out 3 ancient books. If you're going to the City Lord's Mansion Scripture Pavilion, could you also return these 3 books for me? Last time he and Xin Guangshuan had gone to the City Lord's Mansion, Yi Feng had borrowed Mystic Shell Shield, Earth Escape, and Vitality Bullet, 3 lower-grade spells. Now he could just have Jia Yulan return them. As you command, disciple. Jia Yulan took the ancient books, stepped on a petal-powered flying bird filled with flower petals, and drifted away. After she left, Yi Feng threw out a spirit sword and, using the power of heroic spirits, flew on the sword, hurrying toward Beacon Fire City at the speed of 15 meters per second. This was Yi Feng's first true experience of flight. Although he didn't know why one needed a device to fly, Yi Feng looked down at the rapidly retreating trees and enjoyed the pleasure of flying, feeling extremely good. After more than half an hour, Yi Feng was less than 10 miles from Beacon Fire City. He descended to the ground, changed into a set of black clothes, and was about to put on a black veiled conical hat. Hehe, you can't run from the Stronghold Master's grasp. An arrogant voice came from around the corner. Yi Feng felt it sounded familiar, and looking in the direction of the voice, he saw a plump young man and a plump woman riding on a giant puppet fierce tiger, desperately fleeing toward Beacon Fire City. Behind them was a middle-aged man with high cheekbones and deep-set eyes, dressed in black armor, holding a knife in his left hand and a sword in his right, emanating the aura of a 9-level Qi refinement peak. Seeing this person, Yi Feng's eyes lit up. The Ziguang Stronghold leader. It's the luck of the draw that I, having searched high and low, should encounter him here. This must be fate. Yi Feng's smile slowly twisted. Since their last clash on the banks of the Fenhuo River, the Ziguang Stronghold leader had disappeared without a trace, making Yi Feng search far and wide. And today, the Ziguang Stronghold leader resumed his old ways, and by sheer coincidence was spotted by the passing Yi Feng. One has to say it was destined. As the Stronghold Master said, you won't escape. The Ziguang Stronghold leader suddenly threw the sharp sword in his hand, causing it to burst forth with piercing sword light and split the puppet fierce tiger in an instant. The chubby young man and the plump woman just happened to fall in front of Yi Feng. There's another person. Strange, why doesn't he have any cultivation? And he looks somewhat familiar, muttered the Ziguang Stronghold leader. But he wasn't the least bit flustered. Instead, he prepared to wipe out Yi Feng along with the other 2, to prevent his own whereabouts from being exposed. Run! This is the infamous Ziguang Stronghold leader, the chubby young man urgently warned, at the same time tossing out a paper crane which inflated to 2 meters wide and could fly in the air. Rip, the Ziguang Stronghold leader had already approached, cleaving the paper crane in 2, cutting off the chubby young man and plump woman's route of retreat. And then with 2 bang-bang sounds, he knocked them to the ground. At this moment, the Ziguang Stronghold leader was only 5 meters away from Yi Feng. Looking into Yi Feng's eyes, the Ziguang Stronghold leader felt a sudden surge in the feeling of familiarity and then angrily said, I know now it was you who killed my 5 lieutenants by the Fenhuo River. Yi Feng smiled. You've actually recognized me. Even if you turned to ash, I could recognize you. The Ziguang Stronghold leader gritted his teeth and, holding his sword, suddenly swung down. Be careful, the chubby young man and plump woman cried out in alarm. Initially, they had thought Yi Feng was just an ordinary person. But upon hearing that Yi Feng had actually slain 5 lieutenants of the Ziguang Stronghold, they were instantly shocked, yet still felt that Yi Feng was no match for the Ziguang Stronghold leader. But the next moment, the Ziguang Stronghold leader stood frozen in place, maintaining his sword-swinging posture, unable to move any longer. What's going on? The Ziguang Stronghold leader exerted all his strength, and the flow of spiritual energy in his meridians also sped up to the fastest. But even so, he felt himself locked by an invisible force and couldn't break free. His gaze swept across and noticed Yi Feng stretching out his hand with a smile. Suddenly he exclaimed, Was it you? Yi Feng's expression turned indifferent and he said, "That's right. Remember the one who killed you is Yi Feng, sect leader of the Misty Sect." As the words fell, a longsword cleaved through the Ziguang stronghold leader. His pupils dilated. He fell to the ground powerlessly, never knowing why Yi Feng was so terrifying. Yi Feng glanced at the trembling, chubby young man and plump woman and said, "The Ziguang stronghold leader has been executed. It's over now." After speaking, Yi Feng swiftly packed up and obliterated the corpse of the Ziguang stronghold leader, then donned his black veiled hat and leisurely left on his sword. The entire process was as fluid as moving clouds and flowing water, leaving the chubby duo sitting on the ground in stunned silence. Such mysterious methods, without detecting any fluctuation of spiritual energy, Misty Sect, what kind of power is this? Yi Feng, this ought to be a renowned figure, right? But why haven't I heard of him? The chubby young man was overwhelmed with emotions. He stared at the retreating figure of Yi Feng, feeling that this person was so imposing, while the slightly plump woman beside him silently mouthed the words, "Misty Sect," her eyes brimming with admiration and gratitude. "Ding, sect prestige value +2. Yi Feng heard the prompt and his lips curved up slightly. Quickening his pace, he soon arrived at Beacon Fire City and reached the underground market, standing in front of the store owner of Wuxuanj Pavilion. "Store owner, I am here as promised, 7 days later." Without any useless talk, Yi Feng directly took out the spirit origin clock, released the soul body of the centennial tree demon, and locked it in midair with heroic spirit power. Indeed, it's a soul body of high-rank demon soldier level. The store owner of Wuxuan Pavilion was delighted. "Please wait a moment, esteemed guest. I will notify the other client to come over right away." After saying this, he took a paper crane from a drawer, blew into it, and the paper crane immediately came to life, flapping its wings and flew out. Yi Feng saw the paper crane and felt a sense of déjà vu. "Esteemed guest, you might need to wait for a while. Would you like some tea?" The store owner of Wuxuan Pavilion asked with a smile. Yi Feng put away the tree demon's soul body and dumped a pile of unwanted items on the counter. "No need for tea, I plan to sell these. What do you think about the prices?" These items were primarily spiritual artifacts and demonic beast materials. Some were from the Ziguang stronghold leader and his subordinates, and others were Yi Feng's loot from Haixuan Gate that night. The rest were spoils from the battles in the Nanlu mountain range, which included treasures from the great elder of the Tyrant Blade sect and the sect leader of Haixuan Gate, gifts from various sects, and all sorts of miscellaneous things. This is a lower-grade spiritual artifact, Mother-Child 5 connected blades. Its power is impressive, with a selling price of 200 lower-grade spirit stones. Are you sure you want to sell it? Oh, are these the claws of an earth-frenzied lizard? They're worth at least 10 spirit stones each, and with so many scales, worth at least 1 spirit stone each. The quality of these spiritual artifacts is quite good, with a selling price between 100 and 200 spirit stones each. Esteemed guest, did you raid a high-ranked sect? The store owner of Wuxuan Pavilion rambled on. Yi Feng gave him a stare and said, "Just give me the total in spirit stones. If the price is right, I might consider selling everything." The store owner of Wuxuan Pavilion chuckled and took out a small abacus to calculate. He then said, "A total of 1,340. I'll round it up to 1,400 for you. How's that?" "I can accept, but the transaction must be in middle-grade spirit stones," Yi Feng said, stating his condition. "All right then, 14 middle-grade spirit stones for you." The store owner of Wuxuan Pavilion placed the spirit stones on the table, grinning from ear to ear. With a bit of refurbishing, he could resell Yi Feng's items and make at least a 5-stone profit in middle-grade spirit stones. Thinking of this, he grinned even wider, looking at Yi Feng as if he were surveying a money tree. Seeing that the store owner of Wuxuan Pavilion easily took out 14 middle-grade spirit stones, Yi Feng silently commented on the man's substantial wealth. However, Yi Feng wasn't a bandit and had no intention of looting. After taking the middle-grade spirit stones, he asked, "Do you have any spirit medicine seeds here?" Having decided to let Jia Yulan establish a spiritual medicine garden, of course, Yi Feng would provide the utmost support. But what's the point of a garden without seeds? So the seeds must be bought. "Spirit seeds, of course we have them. What type do you need?" The store owner of Wuxuan Pavilion asked with a beaming face. "What types do you have?" Yi Feng countered. The store owner of Wuxuan Pavilion took out 10 wooden boxes from the shelf and laid them out in a line on the table, introducing them. "This is a spirit consolidating flower. Drinking tea made from it can consolidate the spirit and quietly bring one into a state of rapid cultivation. 5 spirit seeds for 1 lower-grade spirit stone. This is vitality grass. Consuming it can condense one's life force. It's suitable for body cultivation and most effective for spiritual beasts. 10 spirit seeds for 1 lower-grade spirit stone. The store owner of Wuxuan Pavilion listed his treasures, introducing each of the 10 types of seeds, and then asked, "Esteemed guest, do you intend to purchase all of them?" Yifeng asked, "How long do these spirit seeds last?" The store owner of Wuxuan Pavilion was stunned. "What's a shelf life?" Yifeng paused and then said, "You can think of it as how long these spirit seeds can be kept before they can still ensure germination. Definitely no problem for 10 years, and as for the survival rate, I'm afraid only 70%. I wouldn't dare claim higher." The store owner of Wuxuan Pavilion said, "Only 70%? Yifeng was disappointed. "I can give you a 30% discount," the store owner of Wuxuan Pavilion quickly offered. "Fine, give me 100 of each type." Yifeng, now possessing 14 middle-grade spirit stones and flush with cash, couldn't resist the urge to shop. After that, he bought some lower-grade cultivation chi pills and rummaged through the shelves, spending a total of 4 middle-grade spirit stones. Not until then did heavy footsteps finally echo from behind, as if a large, fat man was walking. The store owner of Wuxuan Pavilion's eyes lit up. "Esteemed guest, the person who wants to purchase a soul body has arrived." "Cousin, I'm here. Is there really someone willing to sell a high-rank demon soldier-level soul body?" A voice that seemed familiar to Yifeng rang out. The next moment, the shop dimmed. Yifeng turned around and saw a big fat man at the door, cloaked in black and wearing a large hat, who must have weighed at least 300 pounds, as it was he who blocked the light from the passage. The store owner of Wuxuan Pavilion pointed at Yifeng and introduced him. "Big cousin, this is the esteemed guest I was telling you about." The 300-pound fat man looked at Yifeng, his pupils constricted, and the next moment he eagerly took off his dark veil and cap, exclaiming, "Sect Master Yi, it's me." Yifeng was taken aback. He had just found the fat man a bit familiar, and now he realized the man was the same person he had inadvertently saved when he had just killed the Ziguang stronghold leader. "No, I am not. You have the wrong person." Yifeng, eager to conceal his identity, immediately began a set of denials. "Sect Master Yi, the dark veil you are wearing is made of ordinary cloth. We can see your face clearly. You must use a veil woven from spirit silkworm thread to block others' prying eyes," the portly young man hurriedly explained. Touching his face, Yifeng felt foolish and could only take off his veil and cap, saying, "So you are the one who wants to buy the soul body. All right then, how shall we discuss the price?" With that said, Yifeng released the tree demon soul body. The portly youth examined it for a moment, and the joy on his face grew even thicker. "Sect Master Yi, you are my lifesaver. I am willing to pay double the price for this soul body, 300 lower-grade spirit stones. What do you think?" Agreed. Yifeng had not expected he could sell it for so much and immediately consented. The two exchanged the money and the soul body, completing the transaction smoothly. Zheng Yaeshu, who had put the tree demon soul body into a jade gourd, asked, "Sect Master Yi, my name is Zheng Yaeshu, a disciple of the 100 Artifacts sect. You have saved my life, and I would like to invite you for a meal later. What do you think?" "You're a disciple of the 100 Artifacts sect?" Yifeng asked, surprised. He had been worried about how to refine the spirit mine worth 3,000 spirit stones. But the moment he heard about Zheng Yaeshu's background, his interest was piqued. The store owner of Wuxuan Pavilion said, "My big cousin is a genius disciple of the 100 Artifacts sect. Although he only has the cultivation level of the 7th stage of Qi refinement, he is capable of crafting puppets that can match the power of the 9th stage at the peak. His skill in artifact crafting is also very high. It's just a pity that his family was cursed, turning them all as fat as pigs." Upon hearing this, Zheng Yaeshu rolled his eyes and said, "It's all because my dad was too flirty. Why did he have to mess with a female demon? Alas, it's an unfortunate shame that even my wife, who was once as beautiful as a flower, also became fat." Pfft. Yifeng almost burst into laughter, never expecting that such an absurd curse existed in the world, making an entire family become very fat. If slimming medicine was effective, wouldn't it sell like crazy? At this moment, Zheng Yaeshu gave Yifeng a cupped hand salute. "Sect Master Yi, what do you think about that meal then?" "Let's skip the meal, just having some tea and a chat will be fine." Yifeng waved his hand and took out the arrow bull puppet he had disabled. "Since you are a disciple of the 100 Artifacts sect, Can you fix this? The arrow bull puppet? Both Zheng Yaeshu and the store owner of Wuxuan Pavilion were surprised. Zheng Yaeshu hurried forward to pick up the arrow bull puppet, skillfully opening a secret compartment and finding the number 19 inscribed within, his eyes bulging out. Sect Master Yi, I made this. Yi Feng's gaze sharpened. Are you sure this was crafted by you? Zheng Yaeshu pointed at the number 19 and said with certainty, in the 100 Artifacts sect, every artifact refiner has their own corresponding number, and mine happens to be 19. The store owner of Wuxuan Pavilion was skeptical. That's not right. I remember the arrow bull puppet was sold to a weird-speaking cloak man. How did it end up in Sect Master Yi's hands? What kind of person? Yi Feng pressed on. After thinking for a moment, the store owner of Wuxuan Pavilion described the person's appearance in detail, giving Yi Feng a sense of familiarity. Did that person say anything about being the leader of the Five Colors City Black Robe Association or something like that? Yi Feng continued to inquire. The store owner of Wuxuan Pavilion shook his head. We who do underground business wouldn't delve into the other party's origins, so I didn't ask. Yi Feng felt a bit disappointed. Is that so? He fell into deep thought. Previously, a strange cloak man had visited Misty Peak and Brother Flathead had bitten onto the hem of his garment. He seemed in pain, as if a chunk of his flesh had been bitten off, very much like the person described by the store owner of Wuxuan Pavilion. Yi Feng felt these two persons were likely to be one and the same. However, these were just his speculations for the time being. With that thought, Yi Feng asked Zheng Yaeshu, let's not worry about the origin of the arrow bull puppet for now. Can you fix it? Zheng Yaeshu patted his chest, sending his body fat trembling, and said, don't worry, although I've gotten fatter, I'm still quite agile. Judging by the extent of the damage here, I can fix it in half an hour. That quick? Yi Feng had thought it would take 10 days or at least half a month. Zheng Yaeshu laughed. I have spare parts. Just replace the damaged areas, do some repairs, and of course it will be quick. How much will it cost? Yi Feng was more concerned with this issue. If it were too expensive, it would be better to sell the arrow bull puppet and exchange it for some spirit stones. Sect Master Yi is my life-saving benefactor. The first job is free. I will cover all the costs. Zheng Yaeshu laughed. Yi Feng was overjoyed inside, but on the surface he showed an awkward expression. Isn't that a bit too much? The store owner of Wuxuan Pavilion shrugged his shoulders. Sect Master Yi might not know, but my big cousin is an artifact refiner and is quite wealthy on his own. He isn't lacking this bit of money. Zheng Yaeshu glared. Nonsense. My money didn't just blow in with the wind. Besides, I still need to save money for dieting. The store owner of Wuxuan Pavilion immediately covered his mouth and snickered. Yi Feng stood by at a loss for words. Zheng Yaeshu took out a variety of professional tools and began disassembling the arrow bull puppet with practiced ease, replacing the broken parts and repairing them with a focused expression, wordless, a complete contrast from his usual self. Less than half an hour later, with a click sound, Zheng Yaeshu had reassembled the arrow bull puppet. It was almost indistinguishable from a new one. As expected from an artifact refiner, impressive, Yi Feng praised. Zheng Yaeshu put away his tools and scratched his head. Sect Master Yi, would you like some more tea? Dodging the tea offer, Yi Feng took out a piece of spirit mine. Can you refine these spirit mines for me? This is flame gold mine, which can be used to forge dual-property gold fire spiritual artifacts. Unfortunately, I'm only at the Qi refining realm and need the sect's underground fire to melt and refine these ores, Zheng Yaeshu said with a look of difficulty. Yi Feng realized, you mean to say you can't currently smelt these ores yourself and must return to the 100 Artifacts sect to do so? Yes, Zheng Yaeshu nodded. Yi Feng's expression immediately fell. Although Zheng Yaeshu seemed like a nice person, it was just their first day of acquaintance. For Yi Feng to take out spirit mines worth thousands of spirit stones and hand them over to Zheng Yaeshu to take back to the 100 Artifacts sect was obviously not possible. Moreover, tomorrow was the joyous day of the Misty sect's advancement to a high-ranked sect, and Yi Feng could not leave. Then it hit him. I've got it. Yi Feng snapped his fingers. He took out different kinds of spirit mines, a piece of each type, roughly the size of a fist, placed them on the table in a line. This is jade ore, flame gold, spirit copper mine, more than 10 types of materials in total, enough to refine the raw materials for a set of lower-grade spiritual artifacts, Zheng Yaeshu said. Yi Feng pointed at the spirit mines. Can you refine all of these for me? We can negotiate a good price. These materials aren't much. If I take them back to the sect and use the earth fire for forging, I can refine them all in a day, and it doesn't require any cost. Zheng Yaeshu shook his head and said, "Does that mean it's free?" Yifeng was surprised. Zheng Yaeshu nodded, saying, "Just need to melt them at high temperature first, then cast a few special spells for purification. For an artifact refiner, this is the most basic step, and the cost is negligible. However, to forge them into spiritual artifacts, I would need to charge an extra processing fee." "Okay, then please help me refine these spirit mines first. There will be a lot more spirit mines needing refining later on." Yifeng stated his intentions. If the refinement was successful, he would find time to visit the 100 Artifacts sect in the future, where he could have all the spirit mines refined and also broaden his disciples' horizons. "No problem," Zheng Yaeshu nodded. "I'll be back in Beacon Fire City in 7 days and I'll contact Sect Master Yi then." 7 days? Could it be that your home is also in Beacon Fire City? Yifeng asked thoughtfully. "My family is the Zheng family, among the many noble families in Beacon Fire City. Every once in a while, I would go back home with my Dao companion to have a look," Zheng Yaeshu said. "Today just happens to be the day I returned. Who knew I would encounter the Ziguang stronghold leader? Fortunately, I met Sect Master Yi. Otherwise, my 300 pounds of fat would have been gone." Upon hearing this, Yifeng understood everything. Not long after, Yifeng, holding a paper crane for message transmission, left Wuxuan Pavilion. After he disappeared, the store owner of Wuxuan Pavilion asked, "Big cousin, did Sect Master Yi really kill the Ziguang stronghold leader in one strike?" "Yes, Sect Master Yi is very strong. But I remember that Misty Sect is not a high-ranked sect, right?" Zheng Yaeshu said with a puzzled face. The store owner of Wuxuan Pavilion also furrowed his brows. The next moment, a person dressed in black entered Wuxuan Pavilion like a ghost, kneeled on one knee, and handed a letter to the owner. After reading the content of the letter, the store owner of Wuxuan Pavilion's eyes widened. Sect Master Yi is actually the chosen one, comparable to the first level of element gathering realm, and moreover, tomorrow is the day Misty Sect is promoted to a high-ranked sect. At the City Lord's mansion in White Float City, Jia Yulan, like a student thirsty for knowledge, sat upright in the grand hall next to the scripture pavilion, sipping spiritual tea and reading. The scripture pavilion of the City Lord's mansion was open to the public. Of course, even just sitting here reading, one has to pay a spirit stone every 3 days. For the average person, this was quite extravagant, but for cultivators of the middle and upper tiers of chi refinement, it wasn't considered expensive. So that's how it is. Growing spiritual medicine requires so much preparation. Jia Yulan was taking notes in her notebook while reading the book. When thirsty, she would take a sip of spiritual tea to moisten her throat. Looking out of the window, it was already dusk, and Jia Yulan was ready to go back to her sect. She planned to continue reading and studying after the sect's promotion celebration had ended. "Are you leaving already without reading a bit more?" Elder Liu, the pavilion master of the scripture pavilion, came over with a smile. "It's getting late. I need to go back to the sect for cultivation," Jia Yulan said with a smile. As the daughter of the Jia family's head, she had visited the scripture pavilion several times when she was a child. Because she was well-behaved and sensible from a young age, of course, mainly because she was pretty. She was much beloved by Elder Liu. "Don't worry, you just go ahead and read. I can give you a discount," Elder Liu laughed. "Then, thank you, Elder Liu. Goodbye." Jia Yulan waved her hand and then left the City Lord's mansion. After Jia Yulan had walked a few streets, a slightly gloomy voice came from behind her. "Miss Jia, it seems we are fated to meet again." Jia Yulan frowned slightly and looked back. She saw Li Hansha with disheveled hair, his eyes full of bloodshot vessels, flanked by 2 women from Gulan, smiling wickedly at her. It was he who had been calling out just now. "Li Hansha, it's you." Jia Yulan's brows knit together slightly. She had already heard about the annihilation of Haixuan Gate and knew that Li Hansha was the sect's sole survivor, reduced to being a loose cultivator now. As for Haixuan Gate, it had already been expelled a few days ago, and the deed to the sect's land had been reclaimed by the City Lord's mansion. As for more detailed information, Jia Yulan was unaware. Li Hansha, looking at Jia Yulan, licked his lips, forcefully pushed away the women from Gulan beside him, and sneered. "Miss Jia, you've chosen your cards well, transforming from a lower-ranked sect disciple to a disciple of a high-ranked sect overnight. Should I congratulate you on your success?" Listening to these ambiguous words, Jia Yulan's beautiful brows furrowed slightly, but remembering that she was in White Float City, she held back from taking action. But in the next instant, Li Hanshao suddenly lunged over, attempting to hold Jia Yulan, chuckling. I want to see just how much you've improved after joining Misty Sect. Pervert, get lost. Jia Yulan's face turned cold, and with a light tap of her foot on the ground, she had already gained some distance from him, then extended her slender fingers to launch Vitality Bullet. Bang! Even though Li Hanshao had reached the peak of the 5th layer of Qi refinement, facing Jia Yulan, who had advanced to the 8th layer, he had no ability to resist at all. After a muffled sound, he was sent flying by the Vitality Bullet, his clothes bursting apart. Wow! Li Hanshao fell flat on his back on the ground, forming a big shape, frightening the two women from Gulen so much that they shivered on the spot. Passers-by further away also noticed this scene, and realizing Jia Yulan had reached the 8th layer, all opened their mouths in shock. If you dare to be so brazen again next time, it won't just be a simple lesson. Jia Yulan hummed lightly, withdrew her hand, and as she accidentally caught a glimpse of Li Hanshao's condition, her pretty face flushed red, and she quickly left the scene flustered. The more she thought about it, the angrier she became, and she decided to walk home to calm her nerves with a meal. Refinement! 8th layer of Qi refinement, how is this possible? Li Hanshao lay on the ground, his eyes widening as he stared blankly at the sky, looking as if he had seen a ghost. Last time they met, Jia Yulan was at the peak of the 6th layer of Qi refinement. In such a short time, she had actually reached the 8th layer, and moreover, her foundation was solid without any sense of instability. Hey, this is indecent. The onlookers gathered not far away, pointing and murmuring at Li Hanshao. Ah, my clothes! Li Hanshao finally noticed his tattered clothes, and as the wind blew, he felt a chilled sense of exposure, immediately cursing, Jia Yulan, you wait for me? Jia Yulan returned to the Jia residence. Oh, my precious daughter is back. I've already ordered dinner to be prepared, and several uncles from the family will be coming over too. Huh, your cultivation level, 8th layer of Qi refinement. Jia Lian, the head of the Jia family, used his spirit eyes, originally wanting to see if Jia Yulan had advanced to the 7th layer of Qi refinement. But what a surprise! 8th layer. Jia Lian immediately checked Jia Yulan's pulse, and finding that her foundation was profound, he quickly asked, Did you take a cultivation Qi pill and then a body-tempering Qi pill after that? Yes. Jia Yulan nodded her head. Did Sect Master Yi give them to you? Jia Lian asked hastily. Jia Yulan nodded again. Some time ago, Sect Master Yi gave us quite a few cultivation Qi pills, which made our foundations unstable, but soon after, he also gave each of us a body-tempering Qi pill to consolidate our cultivation. One for each person. Jia Lian immediately took a sharp breath in surprise. A body-tempering Qi pill for 30 lower-grade spirit stones. Even the Jia family had only one bottle, treasured and hidden away like a precious jewel. However, within the Misty Sect, such elixirs were distributed one per person. Dad, rest assured I'm doing very well in the Misty Sect. The sect leader is about to establish a spiritual medicine garden, and I'm the person in charge, Jia Yulan said with a hint of pride. My goodness, Jia Lian felt like he was dreaming. In the past, he thought it unwise for his daughter to join the Misty Sect, but now it smelled great to him. My lord, there's important news. An elderly man rushed into the hall, frenetically holding a letter from the city lord's mansion. What is it? Jia Lian took the letter, and his eyes widened instantly. Daughter, has the Misty Sect passed the high-ranked sect assessment? Yes, I was just about to tell you. Jia Yulan nodded. Ha, heaven helps the Jia family. Spread the word, say that my daughter, Jia Yulan, has advanced to the 8th layer of Qi refinement, and we will celebrate tonight. Moreover, with the Misty Sect's elevation to high-ranked, we must go with generous gifts to offer our congratulations. Jia Lian's hearty laughter spread throughout the entire Jia residence, quickly causing a sensation. Jia Yulan immediately covered her face with her hands, feeling embarrassed. That's how her father was, treating her like a treasure. Any little news had to be flaunted, which often made her feel very embarrassed. Soon, the Jia family's banquet began. A large number of guests sat around, casting envious glances at Jia Yulan, who had reached the 8th layer of Qi refinement. Especially upon hearing that the Misty Sect would soon rise to high-ranked, they felt envy enough to cry. Sitting in the seat of honor, Jia Lian looked at the envious expressions of the crowd, feeling extremely pleased, and laughed loudly. It's still my doing having such a good daughter, ha. Jia Yulan, meanwhile, was extremely embarrassed, her face full of awkward smiles. At the end of the banquet, Jia Yulan immediately packed lots of delicious food in her storage belt, then left the Jia residence and hurried to the East City gate on a road bathed in moonlight like water. Not long after, in the vicinity of a quiet alley. Jia Yulan sensed a fluctuation of spiritual energy and subconsciously looked into the alley, where she found a raggedly dressed woman squatting on the ground, her hands faintly glowing, nurturing a plant that had been trampled to death. To Jia Yulan's amazement, the plant quickly revived with vigorous vitality and stood erect. What an amazing talent, just the kind of person our spiritual medicine garden needs, Jia Yulan thought joyfully. Plop. After the mysterious woman revived the wildgrass, she herself collapsed on the ground, fainting, revealing a delicate figure that even Jia Yulan envied. At that moment, voices of discussion came from the other end of the alley. That damn woman is fierce, not letting anyone touch her, even bit off a customer's ear and ran away from the Gulan. I wonder if she can be found. If she can't be found, why don't we just grab someone else to take back? Hey, look, she's here. A few rowdy-looking youths entered the alley intending to kidnap the mysterious woman, but then saw Jia Yulan standing at the end of the alley. Because the moon was obscured by clouds, making the alley dim, the young men could only see Jia Yulan's graceful figure, which immediately aroused them, and they swallowed hard. Supreme grade indeed. Heh, take her back, she'll surely become the top attraction of our Gulan. Hearing these frivolous words, Jia Yulan stretched out her hand. If I weren't a cultivator, I'm afraid my life would be completely ruined in the hands of you beasts tonight. You deserve to die. After saying this coldly, Jia Yulan launched several vitality bullets. When the moon peeked out from the clouds again, illuminating the alley, there were only a few charred corpses left. Book thanks to Zaya Oki for the Alliance Hierarch reward. Under the blanket of night. Jia Yulan, carrying an unconscious, mysterious woman, stepped onto a pink petal-like flying bird and rushed toward Misty Peak. Ever since she cultivated falling blooms in profusion to perfection, and then started on the second Qi Si, middle volume, her Qi Si's capacity was far beyond her peers. She could fly continuously for at least 100 li without running out of energy midway. Soon, she arrived at Misty Peak. It was the beginning of the high hour, around 9 o'clock in the evening. Disciples had just finished their cultivation of the second Qi Si, middle volume, and were walking out of the sect leader's great hall when they happened to see Jia Yulan. "Seventh junior sister, who is this?" Shilei noticed Jia Yulan cradling a ragged stranger who was deeply asleep and asked. "Here's what happened." After Jia Yulan explained the situation, everyone learned about the close call the woman had and couldn't help but clench their fists, cursing the establishment of Gulan. "What happened?" Yifeng walked over from the back courtyard. He had returned to Misty Peak that afternoon, and finding Jia Yulan still not back, temporarily stored the spiritual medicine seeds in the system space. "Yulan, weren't you at the City Lord's Mansion Scripture Pavilion reading? How did you end up bringing back a girl too? Could this be the Yan Ruyu in the book from the legends?" Yifeng joked. Jia Yulan recounted her encounter with the woman once more. Yifeng's eyes lit up upon hearing about the girl's talent of regenerating grass. "I've decided, let's make her a disciple of Misty Sect." "Really?" Jia Yulan was delighted. Yifeng nodded. "A sect can't just consist of a few of us, right? Of course, we should continue to take in disciples. However, Misty Sect doesn't care about numbers. What's most important is character. Talent and root bone come second. Then I'll go clean her up and change her into clean clothes. We'll talk when she wakes up," Jia Yulan said, holding the mysterious woman and preparing to head to the guest room. "Cough, cough, cough." The mysterious woman suddenly coughed, her long eyelashes trembling as she opened her bright, clear eyes, instinctively trying to resist. But when the woman caught sight of Yifeng, she felt a deep sense of familiarity and closeness from her soul, as if there was some bond between them. She asked weakly, "Where is this?" "This is Misty Peak, the stronghold of our Misty Sect. You'll be safe here," Jia Yulan replied. The woman weakly asked, "Why am I here?" "You were unconscious in the alley and I rescued you." Jia Yulan didn't mention the people from Gulan. "Water, I'm so thirsty," the woman suddenly said. Jia Yulan quickly helped the woman to the side of the spiritual spring. The woman took a sip of the spirit spring water and her pale complexion immediately turned rosy. She seemed to regain some strength, gulping down the water voraciously, astounding the onlookers. After a while, the woman stood up, patted her still flat stomach, and said with satisfaction, "That was filling. I've never seen anyone get full just by drinking water." Ouyang Yu watched the woman in amazement, broadening his horizons. At this moment, although the woman's clothes were still tattered, she looked very spirited, exuding a unique beauty. The crowd took this opportunity to get a clear look at the woman's face. Her individual features might not be considered beautiful, but combined into one face, The look was quite appealing. If Jia Yulan's beauty could be rated at 95 points, this woman would certainly score 85. Moreover, no matter how one looked at her, she would never tire the eyes. In fact, one might even start thinking of what to name their children after looking at her for a while. Yifeng found the woman quite strange. While her appearance was unfamiliar, he felt as though he had seen her somewhere before. Thus he asked, "What's your name?" "Name? What's that? Can it be eaten?" The woman blinked and naively asked as if she knew nothing. Yifeng was about to ask the woman about her origins, but thought it better to recruit her as a sect disciple first. That way, he could directly obtain her information. So he changed tack and asked, "Would you like to join my sect?" Ever since the Misty sect had been recognized by the system and promoted to a higher status, Yifeng found the number of disciples listed changed to 10/25. Although it was only a pitiful increase of 15 spots, considering the size of Misty Peak. It was quite decent to recruit up to 25 disciples since it couldn't accommodate too many people at once. Moreover, Yifeng knew that with the way the system worked, it would definitely screen potential disciples to exclude those with ill intentions. Therefore, the recruitment process couldn't be too fast. "Can I drink this water every day?" The woman clasped her fingers tightly, a look of nervousness on her face. "Of course you can, drink as much as you like," Yifeng nodded. The woman, looking at the familiar feeling Yifeng, obediently murmured, in agreement to join the Misty sect. "Very good, follow me." Yifeng led everyone to the sect leader's great hall and seated himself with a sense of ceremony at the main seat. He took out the book of names. "Since you don't have a name, how about I give you one?" Yifeng asked while holding a brush. "Okay," replied the woman. She didn't know what a name was, but she still nodded. "Since it was Yu Lan who found her on the way to reading, let's call her Yan Ruyu." Muttering to himself, Yifeng wrote the name Yan Ruyu onto the list. The next moment, a system notification sound echoed in his mind. "Ding, accepted registered disciple Yan Ruyu. Upper grade talent, no cultivation level yet, possesses a life spirit body formed congenitally that can store over 100 times more spiritual energy than her own realm, and has talents such as healing and growth. She does not need to eat, merely replenishing spiritual energy will prevent hunger." Hearing the system's prompt, Yifeng nearly threw his brush away in shock. His eyes widened as he thought, "Damn, that's a pretty thoughtful system. My new disciple is so powerful. Growth and healing talents. Misty sect finally has a healer." Speaking to himself, Yifeng glanced at Yan Ruyu and thought she was indeed a healer, quite grand in stature to say the least. The system offered no response. Yifeng then thought, "System, why do I feel like Yan Ruyu seems familiar?" The system indicated, "After analysis, Yan Ruyu is a reborn individual, the former owner of the 5 elements spirit bead. Due to some reason, she permanently lost her memories of her previous life soon after her rebirth, and her appearance and stature were altered during the reshaping of her life spirit body. She has no connection to her former life." "It's actually her." Yifeng's thoughts churned like a stormy sea. When he looked again at Yan Ruyu, he saw her tilting her head, looking at him with a curious expression. The disciples noticed Yifeng's face changing colors several times within a short span, as if he were engaged in a fierce battle of wits with the air, leaving them puzzled. Gurgled just at that moment, Yifeng's stomach growled from hunger, initiating a chain reaction as the other disciples' stomachs followed suit. Quick-witted, Yifeng immediately said, "See, it's not just me who's suffering from hunger." Upon hearing this, the disciples presumed the changes in Yifeng's complexion were due to hunger and thought nothing more of it. Jia Yulan seized the opportunity to stand out. "I went home today and just happened to pack lots of delicious food for everyone." With that, she took out a feast from her storage belt. Yifeng grinned mischievously, pulling his own bowl and chopsticks from the system space. "Hee, I'll start first." "Ah," reporting the sect leader for hacking. "I'm rushing to the kitchen to get bowls and chopsticks. I'll dig in with my hands." Some dashed to the kitchen while others grabbed whole plates to themselves, scrambling and vying in a manner that actually seemed quite harmonious. Watching the scene, Yan Ruyu smiled idiotically, her smile full of infinite tenderness, imparting to the disciples a wonderful feeling, as if the fog had lifted to reveal the sun and the warmth of spring had brought the blossoming of flowers. Such a healing smile. Mo Ying was also snatching food, but her movements were clean and efficient, exuding the unique style and charm of a sword cultivator. Her gaze casually drifted and noticed Yan Ruyu's smile, inexplicably finding her mood much improved. "Ruyu, aren't you eating?" Jia Yulan had already eaten, so she didn't snatch any food. Yan Ruyu looked at her fellow disciples devouring their food and shook her head, pointing to a bowl of water on the table. I just need to drink water. Long Tianxing immediately looked up. Is she that easy to satisfy? Yifeng gently slapped Long Tianxing on the head and said, It must be water that contains spiritual energy, because Ru Yu has a special physique, which is quite different from the rest of you. A special physique? The disciples' food-scooping motion stiffened. Yifeng looked at everyone and felt that Yan Ruyu's identity as a nursing mother could not be hidden. Moreover, the disciples all deserved to be trusted, so he said, Ru Yu's physique is very special. She can cultivate spiritual medicine and heal injuries, needing only to replenish spiritual energy to be brimming with vitality, completely unlike you all. Hearing about the talent of spirit medicine cultivation, Jia Yulan immediately revealed a proud smile. After all, Yan Ruyu was the talent she had discovered. The other disciples' focus was all on the healing ability, and when they looked at Yan Ruyu again, they found her even more appealing to the eye. A healing talent has great significance. What should this type of cultivator be called? The disciples, no longer caring about their meals, started discussing among themselves. Yifeng coughed and said, Cultivators like Ru Yu who can heal and cultivate, we can call her a nursing mother. A nursing mother? The disciples looked at each other in bewilderment. The naive-minded Yan Ruyu, seeing the expressions of the others, grew curious and blinked her eyes, asking, Wasn't I called Yan Ruyu? Why am I called a nursing mother now? Nursing mother is your nickname. For example, my name is Yifeng, and my nickname is the sect leader of Misty Sect, and I'm also your sect leader. Yifeng explained. Through the system's prompt, Yifeng knew that Yan Ruyu's mental maturity was temporarily akin to a child's, but because she possessed a life-spirit body, she was very intelligent, had a strong ability to accept new things, and was growing rapidly. Oh, Yan Ruyu nodded her head, indicating she understood. All right, continue with your meal. Yifeng quickly dumped a whole plate of food into his bowl, instantly causing an uproar among the disciples, leading to a new round of the food-snatching battle. After the meal, Yifeng turned the guest room next to Ayang Yu's into Yan Ruyu's room and brought her new clothes. After bathing and changing clothes, Yan Ruyu looked even more gentle and tranquil, exuding an aura akin to the warmth of an early spring. When Yan Ruyu went to the backyard, Brother Flathead immediately stood up, his eyes devoid of the passion for fighting. Instead, he sniffed her scent and started running around joyfully, as if expressing his happiness. This blue lotus is so beautiful. Yan Ruyu approached the spiritual spring, placed her hands on the purifying green lotus, and released soft glows downwards. The purifying green lotus grew at a speed visible to the naked eye, quickly sprouting a thumb-sized flower bud at the top. But Yan Ruyu also felt dizzy from the excessive consumption, and Jia Yulan immediately supported her, feeding her a lot of spirit spring water until she recovered. Although Ru Yu is a spiritual body, she has not yet formally embarked on the path of cultivation and therefore has little life spirit force in her body, which cannot withstand too much consumption. Yifeng came over and said, Let her get used to this place, then she can formally start her cultivation journey. Sect Master Uncle, how is Ru Yu's root bone? Jia Yulan asked curiously. Upper grade root bone. Since she has a spiritual body, her cultivation speed will be enhanced, faster than any of you. Yifeng said. The disciples, upon hearing this, all revealed looks of astonishment. It seems I too must diligently cultivate, or one day even the wet nurse will catch up to me. Long Tianxing's breath hitched, and he promptly sat cross-legged beside the spiritual spring, gradually entering the state of cultivation. The other disciples did the same. Watching them cultivate so earnestly, Yifeng felt gratified. Ever since the Misty Sect had its spirit vein, the concentration of spiritual energy around the spiritual spring was tenfold higher, and even without using cultivation chi pills, the speed of cultivation would be much faster. Sect leader, I want to cultivate too, Yan Ruyu declared, noticing the disciples arranging themselves in a circle around the spiritual spring, kindling a strong interest within her. No hurry, Yifeng shook his head. But I think cultivating is fun, Yan Ruyu said, pointing at the others. I see colorful clouds of light flowing into their bodies like streams, and I want to try it too. Fun? Yifeng almost toppled over. He was not surprised that Yan Ruyu could see spiritual energy. After all, she was a life-spirit body, naturally close to spiritual energy. Such people are what one might call geniuses. All right then, I'll teach you how to cultivate. Yifeng took out the basic cultivation technique, 5 Qi Dynasty Yuan, preparing to explain it to Yan Ruyu. Oh, I think I know how to cultivate. Yan Ruyu merely glanced at the meridian circulation chart from 5 Qi Dynasty Yuan and sat down cross-legged, maintaining a pose with her 5 hearts pointing to heaven, and immediately spiritual energy began surging towards her, forming a vortex around her. This talent, is it cheating? When Yifeng looked at her with spirit eyes, he saw that Yan Ruyu's speed of absorbing spiritual energy was the sum of the other 10 disciples' speeds combined, and he was instantly amazed. Before long, Yan Ruyu had broken through to the first layer of Qi refinement. She opened her eyes and joyfully said to Yifeng, "Sect leader, cultivating is really fun. I found that when those colorful clouds flow inside my body, I feel much lighter." "Awesome!" Yifeng wanted to cry but had no tears. Why was it that every disciple he picked up was so strong, while he himself couldn't cultivate at all due to the dog system? "Am I really to remain immortal forever?" Yifeng sighed, quietly standing to one side to protect the disciples while familiarizing himself with the power of heroic spirit. The next morning at dawn, Yifeng stood by the spiritual spring, having not slept all night. He watched, wide-eyed, as Yan Ruyu went from the first level of Qi refinement to the 5th, too astonished to sleep. When the disciples finished their cultivation one after another, they were all dumbfounded to find that Yan Ruyu had already reached the 5th level of Qi refinement and were at a loss for words. In comparison, their cultivation speed was like that of a turtle. Perhaps that's what a genius is. The least skilled cultivators, Aoyang Yu and Aoyang Feng, wanted to cry without tears. They had already been at the peak of the 4th layer of Qi refinement, and with the help of the spirit eyes, they had just managed to break through to the 5th level this morning. However, Yan Ruyu had caught up with them after just one night of cultivation. Cough, cough. As the sect leader has said, Ruyu is a spiritual body with an upper-grade root bone. Her cultivation speed is very fast. You'll get used to it, and there's no need for sorrow and sadness to save you the trouble of feeling this way every day, Yifeng explained. Zia He and Qiu Ju, whose cultivation levels were among the lowest, felt a bitter taste in their mouth upon hearing these words. Seeing the disciples had finished their cultivation, Yifeng looked at the rising sun, and his expression suddenly turned solemn. He said, "Today is the day our Misty sect will add higher ranks. In a while, quite a few people should come over. After breakfast, get ready and clean up the peak top thoroughly." The disciples obey the command. Everyone quickly bowed with their fists and said so. As the disciples were cleaning the top of Misty Peak, Yifeng, accompanied by Yan Ruyu and Jia Yulan, arrived in a guest room. These are spirit medicine seeds, including spirit consolidating flowers, vitality grass, 10 types in total, 100 spirit seeds each, plus the jade spirit grass. This is the initial foundation of the spiritual medicine garden. Yifeng took out the spirit medicine seeds he had purchased from Wuxuan Pavilion. He placed a rectangular table 2 meters in length and 1 meter in width in the guest room, bordered by a railing about a foot high, filled with colorful fine sand, and took the opportunity to waterproof the 4 walls. This is spiritual sand, specially used for planting spiritual medicine. Sect leader, where did you get this from? Jia Yulan asked. Yifeng smiled. It seems your study at the City Lord's Mansion Scripture Pavilion has been very effective since you recognized this as spiritual sand. As of today, this bedroom is temporarily allocated to the spiritual medicine garden, specifically for the cultivation of spiritual medicine. Thank you for the sect leader's support. Jia Yulan took 10 seeds of each of the 11 types of spirit seeds and planted them in small pits in the pool of spiritual sand, then took water from the spiritual spring and watered them. After opening his spirit eyes, Yifeng discovered all the spiritual energy was being absorbed by the spirit seeds, and soon sprouts broke through the sand, thriving impressively. However, as Jia Yulan continued to irrigate with spiritual liquid, the growth speed of the spiritual medicine slowed down. At this rate, it would take 3 years to mature. Such is the way of growing spiritual medicine. It's slow, often taking years or even decades before yielding a harvest, Jia Yulan complained. Let me quicken their growth. Yan Ruyu stepped forward and offered her hand. As life-spirit force flowed out of her palm, the speed of the spiritual medicine's growth suddenly increased tenfold. The speed is still too slow. It'll take 3.5 months before we can harvest, Jia Yulan muttered. Yifeng stood with his hands clasped behind his back. The speed is already quite fast. After all, Ruyu's cultivation level is not high enough. Once her cultivation level continuously increases, each time she employs the technique, she can grant the spiritual medicine a 20-fold or even 30-fold speed boost, and the duration will also increase. Yan Ruyu looked surprised. Sect leader, how do you know this? Yifeng just smiled without saying a word, secretly thinking, I have a cheat, it's hard not to know. All right, this pool of spiritual sand will now be a test field. When we buy more spiritual sand later, we can expand the planting area then. Having said so, Yifeng left the spiritual medicine chamber. White Float City, the backyard of an inn. A young man was practicing swordsmanship. Wherever the sword's edge passed, accompanied by the trembling of sword chi, the grass and trees in the courtyard were uniformly cut off at waist height. Few finally reached the peak of the chi refinement 7th level. The young man sheathed his sword, exhaling a long breath and revealing a handsome yet aloof face. At this moment, a swordsman in green robes with starry eyes and sword-like eyebrows, a carefree figure with a blade of grass between his teeth, said, Zio, junior brother, you are truly diligent. You've joined our Qingyun sect not long ago and have already advanced from the Qi Refinement 5th level to the Qi Refinement 7th level. Zio Fangu turned around, performing a sword salute to the green-robed swordsman. Senior brother Bai, you're also up this early. The Qingyun sect disciple, Bai Minglu, spat out the grass stem from his mouth. I've always been an early riser, but you, ever since you joined the sect, have been practicing from dawn to dusk. No wonder you have received the elder's cultivation. Zio Fangu, with sharp eyes, said, I always remember what the sect leader said. Talent plus hard work on the right path will enable one to improve faster. Bai Minglu smiled. The sect leader is quite the smooth talker. Upon hearing this, Zio Fangu's eyes instantly widened. Senior brother Bai, how can you speak so lightly of the sect leader? You must remember, he is at the element gathering 6th level, a top powerhouse throughout the entire southern river basin. Bai Minglu said nothing, but shrugged his shoulders. Just then, a young woman with a curvaceous figure ran from outside, clutching a letter with a somewhat serious expression. Zio, junior brother, there's something you might want to hear. Sister Zai, what's the matter? Zio Fangu asked. The young woman, named Zai Xinyu, appeared to be around 18, with a graceful and upright figure. Since Zio Fangu joined the Qingyun sect, she had always taken excellent care of him. Zai Xinyu asked, Do you still remember the Misty sect? Zio Fangu was stunned. That lower-ranked sect should have disbanded by now, right? After all, they stood no chance against the challenges of the Scarlet Serpent sect. Sister Zai, why bring it up all of a sudden? I think you should read this letter yourself, Zai Xinyu said as she opened the envelope. Zio Fangu frowned as he read the content of the letter. The more he read, the more his hand trembled and his eyelids began to twitch. Whoosh! Zio Fangu crumpled the letter into a ball and let it slide to the ground as he said coldly, The Misty sect is actually still around, and it's about to be promoted to a high-ranked sect. As for Sect Master Yifeng, he turns out to be the chosen one with element gathering realm strength. But even if the Misty sect is promoted to a high-ranked sect, so what? Brothers and sisters, you all know that the examination for high-ranked sects is rather lenient. Any sect with an element gathering realm presence can pass the review. It doesn't mean much. Upon saying this, Zio Fangu's eyes narrowed slightly. You may not know, but apart from Yifeng, there's no one in the Misty sect who is capable of putting up a fight. Zai Xinyu nodded and said, The letter says that the City Lord's mansion has learned that the three of us are out training with the 9th Elder and has taken the opportunity to invite us to attend the Misty sect's promotion ceremony. Junior brother, are you going? Zio Fangu, with his hands behind his back, looked toward the distant misty peak shrouded in clouds. Of course I'll go. Moreover, I will use my strength to show my former sect members that even with the promotion to a high-ranked sect, no one but the sect leader is my match. And this is the difference between a sect and a star-level sect. Bai Minglu laughed. With junior brother Zio's strength, isn't that just a massacre? City Lord's mansion. Zhou Jiaqian looked at the plaque with Misty Sect written on it and carefully attached the 3 willow leaf-shaped insignias. Ha, it's done. From now on, the Misty Sect is officially among the ranks of high-ranked sects, embarking on their own path to star-level sect promotion. It's just unknown whether they can ascend to the ranks of star-level sects. Standing beside him with a sword in his arms, Xin Guangxuan laughed and said, I believe Sect Master Yi can do it. With him there, the Misty Sect will sooner or later be promoted to a star-level sect. Why are you so sure, Brother Xin? Zhou Jiaqian was slightly surprised. Xin Guangxuan spread his hands. I'm not certain, but my intuition tells me that the Misty Sect will definitely become a star-level sect, and may even surpass our Liyun sect. Liyun sect disciples Dong Qiang and Pang Heiyun, standing beside him, immediately lowered their voices. Brother Xin, the 3rd elder is behind you. Zin Guangxuan waved his hand abruptly. PSH, I don't believe it. The third elder himself went off to Gulen last night without me. Right now, he's probably lying down with a sore back and aching waist. Oh, is that really what you think? A cold and stern voice suddenly came from behind. Zin Guangxuan's pupils shrank, and in an instant he fled on his sword, turning his head to meet Lu Shanyu's mocking gaze. Third elder, I was only joking, Zin Guangxuan said with a mournful expression. I don't want to listen and I'm going to thrash you. With that, Lu Shanyu burst forth with the terrifying pressure of the element-gathering realm. 1 hour later, Yifeng changed into a new set of clothes, had his disciples stand behind him, reigned in his cultivation aura, and stood on the open space in front of the main gate with a smile, ready to welcome the guests who were climbing the mountain. The first thing that caught his eye was a familiar face with 2 black eyes. Brother Zin, what happened to your eyes? Why are they so swollen? Ouch! And there's bruising. Did someone give you a beating? Looks pretty bad, Yifeng exclaimed with surprise as he saw the first arriving Zin Guangxuan. At these words, Zin Guangxuan pursed his lips, his face clouded with gloom. Zin Guangxuan fell silent for a moment, covered his eyes with his hand, and stammered, Last night, I accidentally took a fall while sleeping. You are a cultivator, how could you possibly fall like that? Plus, both eyes are swollen so symmetrically, and even the extent of the swelling is nearly the same. It's clear you were beaten up, Yifeng said with a skeptical look. Hearing this, Zin Guangxuan felt even more depressed. I was not beaten. It was just because I slept too high up last night and fell straight from the 5th floor rooftop head first. Huh, why is there so much more mist on Misty Peak now, and the appearance of the peak seems different? It was only then that Zin Guangxuan noticed the vast changes to Misty Peak. In his memory, the summit of Misty Peak was an irregular oval shape with uneven ground. But now, it had turned into a circle, with the ground as flat as if it had been cleaved by a heavenly sword. Strange, the spiritual energy here also seems much denser. Zin Guangxuan took a deep breath and realized that the spiritual energy at the top of Misty Peak was very rich, almost on par with Li Yun sect. Our Misty sect has received the protection of heroic spirits, and significant changes have occurred over the last few days. That's why such transformations have happened. Perhaps the heroic spirits are not satisfied with Misty sect being just a high-ranked sect and hope that we strive forward to challenge for the star-level sect. Yifeng never drafted lies, and as soon as he spoke, he sounded like an old hand at it. However, leveraging his identity as the Chosen One, his words made Zin Guangxuan believe they were true. I knew it. Misty sect could aim for star-level sect in the future. The third elder just doesn't believe it and even beat me for it. Zin Guangxuan laughed heartily. When Yifeng heard this, he found it somewhat unbelievable. After all, Lu Shanyu was an elder. Would he really resort to violence over something like this? Nonsense. This elder thrashed you because you spouted nonsense, daring to say that I went to Gulen without you and tarnishing my reputation. Last night I was clearly meeting an old flame. You don't know a thing. At this moment, a shout sounded from Lu Shanyu not too far away. Zin Guangxuan was so frightened that he immediately shut up. Yifeng burst into laughter upon hearing this. To dare to mock an elder, no wonder Zin Guangxuan got beaten. He had it coming. At this time, Lu Shanyu, accompanied by Dong Qiang and Pang Heiyun, reached the peak and felt astounded by the tremendous changes around them. What an incredible Misty Peak, to welcome such changes. Indeed, it seems to be the protection of heroic spirits. Sect Master Yi is truly the Chosen One. Lu Shanyu looked around with envy on his face. Congratulations, Sect Master Yi. Congratulations to Misty Sect. Just then, more sect leaders with their disciples started to ascend the mountain, calling out their blessings from afar. Thank you all for your congratulations, Yifeng promptly responded. Scanning the crowd, he noticed the leaders of over a dozen sects such as Falling Mountain sect had arrived, and many more sects were continuously coming, creating a lively scene. It's good that I closed the mountain's illusionary formation earlier. Aside from a bit of mist, it doesn't hinder the sects from climbing, Yifeng thought to himself. At this stage, he did not wish to reveal the 5 elements' continuous array. Congratulations to Misty Sect for their ascension to high rank. I, the Palace Master, am here on behalf of Nisheng Palace to offer congratulations. The next moment, a rather coquettish voice slowly drifted over. Yan Ruyu, who stood behind Yifeng, felt a discomfort in her soul upon hearing the voice and quickly lowered her head. Even the high-ranked sects have started coming, murmured a sect leader. Even Lu Shanyu, the third elder of Li Yun sect, has led a team here. how could the high-ranked sects not come? Whispered the sect leader of Falling Mountain Sect. Not to mention that even star-level sects have arrived. Sect Master Yi's influence is indeed great, much stronger than that of a typical high-ranked sect. The sect leaders whispered among themselves. Following the lead of Nishang Palace, another dozen or so lower and middle-ranked sect leaders arrived. Feather's sect has come to offer congratulations. Tyrant Blade sect has come to offer congratulations. Not only that, but even Feather's sect and Tyrant Blade sect, two high-ranked sects, had also arrived, and it was the sect leaders themselves who led the teams. Yifeng glanced at the Tyrant Blade sect leader and noticed he was carrying a 2-meter-long blade on his back, his expression calm, as though the death of the Great Elder had no impact on him. With all three of Whitefloat City's high-ranked sects here, it looks like the celebration will soon start, muttered a sect leader. But just as everyone thought the Deputy City Lord was about to make a grand entrance, another gentle voice was heard. Yunhua Sect's 4th Elder Liu Yuzhai, on behalf of Yunhua Sect, wishes to congratulate Misty Sect. Before the voice had faded, Liu Yuzhai, accompanied by Lin Yuyan and 3 other disciples, reached the summit, holding gift boxes in her hands. Upon discovering the tremendous change Misty Peak had undergone, astonishment flashed in her eyes. Truly worthy of being the chosen one, such a transformation must be the protection of the heroic spirits, right? Liu Yuzhai smiled at Yifeng. Indeed, Yifeng nodded in reply. Other sect leaders realized that even the Yunhua sect had sent delegates, and they were amazed, contemplating how well-connected Yifeng was. At this moment, music wafted up from the steps leading down the mountain. Yifeng and the others looked towards the source of the sound and saw a deputy city lord with white hair leading the way, followed by Zhou Jiaqian and other stewards from the city lord's mansion carrying the Misty Sect's plaque. Following behind was a band. Sect Master Yi, congratulations on your sect's promotion to high rank. I, on behalf of the city lord's mansion, have personally come to present the plaque to you, said the usually serious deputy city lord with a rare smile. If it had been another sect being promoted to high rank, the deputy city lord might not have personally turned up, and would have likely just sent stewards instead. But today, the situation was quite different. I appreciate the deputy city lord taking the trouble to come. Please have some tea. With a sweep of his large sleeves, Yifeng's 4 disciples, Aoyang Feng, Aoyang Yu, Ziahe, and Qiu Ju, immediately brought out teapots and started to pour tea for everyone. This is tea brewed with spirit spring water. Having a cup is worth the trip alone. Misty Sect truly has a profound foundation. The first sect leaders to receive their cups of tea recognized the special nature of the tea and praised it unanimously. Sect Master Yi, please unveil the red cloth by yourself and hang up the plaque to complete the enfeoffment ceremony, Zhou Jiaqian said with a beaming smile. Yifeng was about to step forward, but just at that moment, a group of uninvited guests ascended Misty Peak. Unveiling the red cloth before everyone has arrived, isn't that against protocol? A discordant voice sounded. All eyes turned toward the source of the voice. They saw 4 figures entering their view. In front were 2 young men and a woman, all obviously young but already at least at the peak of the Qi refinement 7th level. Bringing up the rear was an old man leaning on a cane, emitting a faint aura of pressure characteristic of the element gathering realm. It's you, Xiao Fangu? Huo Yunji recognized one of the men, his face darkening as he spoke. He's a genius disciple of the Qingyun sect. Look, the man with the cane resembles the legendary Longyuai Zhenren, the 9th elder of Qingyun sect. Could it really be him? It must be him. They say Longyuai Zhenren is the only one out of the 9 great elders of the Qingyun sect who doesn't use a sword, but his strength is still formidable. I have a feeling that Qingyun sect's arrival bodes ill, whispered the various sect leaders among themselves, sensing the atmosphere grow tense as their voices involuntarily lowered. I didn't expect Misty Sect to survive the challenge from the Scarlet Serpent Sect. Quite fortunate indeed. Xiao Fangu stood out and spoke. Bearing the Xuan Yi flying sword that belonged to the old sect leader, he stood in front of the gates of Misty Sect, looked around and noted the tremendous change on Misty Peak. Thicker spiritual energy, smoother landscape, starkly different from before. But so what? Just a high-ranked sect. How could it be compared with the Qingyun sect that I, Xiao Fangu, have chosen? With that thought, Xiao Fangu raised his proud head. Huo Yunji stepped forward, admonishing, Xiao Fangu, you have the audacity to appear. Return the Xuan Yi flying sword of the old sect leader now. Li Jia, Jiao Tu, was indignant. How dare you take the Xuanyi flying sword when you left? That's our old sect leader's legacy. Your actions are no different from a thief's. Even the normally reticent Shilei spoke up. Junior brother Zio, how can you justify your actions to our late old sect leader? Upon hearing this, Zio Fangu's expression changed abruptly. The others, learning the full story, looked at Zio Fangu with contempt in their eyes. The old sect leader is dead. His Xuanyi flying sword was going unused. What's wrong with me taking it? Besides, who knew Misty Sect would win against the Scarlet Serpent Sect challenge? Zio Fangu showed no remorse, his voice icy. Slap! A crisp sound echoed. Zio Fangu was sent flying, his face swelling on one side. Daring to insult the old sect leader, you deserve a beating. Yifeng spoke sternly, maintaining the position of his outstretched hand. It was he who had made the move. That slap rang throughout the assembly, thunderous, reflecting Yifeng's fury. And it was also in defense of the old sect leader lying beneath the 9 springs. Yifeng, you dare to slap me? Zio Fangu covered his face, his eyes filled with fury. Such incredible speed! Long Yui Zhenren opened his turbid eyes, filled with disbelief. At the same level of the element gathering realm, it turned out, he couldn't predict Yifeng's movements, which led to Zio Fangu receiving a resounding slap. This slap is for the old sect leader in the netherworld. As his junior brother and your sect master uncle, I believe you are unworthy to be a disciple of the Misty Sect, even less worthy of being a person, Yifeng said as he wiped his hands with a handkerchief, a look of distaste on his face. His sonorous voice rang out across Misty Peak like the voice of the heavens, making the expressions of the surrounding people turn serious. In the face of great disaster, it's every man for himself, so it wouldn't have mattered if Zio Fangu had deserted the sect during a crisis. However, he shouldn't have taken the old sect leader's relic, which was also the Misty Sect's only spiritual artifact, the Xuanyi flying sword. Having done all that, Zio Fangu, once he'd made his mark, even had the audacity to return to his former sect to show off, which truly infuriated Yifeng. If it weren't for the many onlookers, Yifeng's retaliation wouldn't have been as simple as just slapping Zio Fangu. At least 100 slaps. Sect Master Yi, it's not very appropriate for you to hit our King Yun sect's disciple, is it? Long Yui Zhenren stepped forward, shielding Zio Fangu. What I hit was a disrespectful traitor, but I didn't expect such a person to be a disciple of King Yun sect, Yifeng said with a smile. The Deputy City Lord, Liu Yuzhai, Lu Shanyu, and the other 6 element gathering realm powerhouses looked on, not intervening for the moment. Although both are 1-star forces, King Yun sect is definitely the top among equals, with a total of 10 element gathering realm experts including the sect leader, possessing great strength and not to be provoked. Yifeng, don't think that just because you're the chosen one you can criticize me. It's every man for himself in the face of calamity, that's common sense. My choice of King Yun sect has nothing to do with you. You're not fit to? Zio Fangu jumped out again, loudly berating him. But with a smack, Zio Fangu was sent flying again, his other cheek swelling up to create a symmetrical face, each with the imprint of a palm. I don't care if you choose another sect, but you took the old sect leader's Xuanyi flying sword, and that's something I can't overlook. Be sensible and hand it over, Yifeng said, his hands clasped behind his back. Zio Fangu shouted angrily, I won't give it up. He then looked toward Shilei, Hu Yunji, and Li Jiao and sneered, unless one of you can take the sword from my hands. Hu Yunji held back Shilei and Li Jiao and stepped forward 3 steps. Zio Fangu, let me, your former senior brother, teach you a lesson. With that, he released the aura of a peak 7th stage chi refinement. Zio Fangu was about to retort with, you're not worthy to be my senior brother. But before he could speak, he sensed Hu Yunji's aura and was taken aback. Bai Minglu and Zai Xinyu from King Yun sect also showed surprise. They hadn't expected Misty Sect to have a disciple at this level. Long Yui Zhenren, however, showed no concern. Fangu, it's good to fight someone of the same level, isn't it? Zio Fangu suddenly realized and smirked. That's right, a fight of equals. If I win, it will prove the strength of our King Yun sect so nobody can accuse me of bullying the weak. Having said that, Zio Fangu stepped forward. Clear the area, Yifeng commanded. Everyone immediately retreated, leaving an open space of several tens of meters in the middle. Hu Yunji, you may be diligent, but you're still not worth drawing my sword, Zio Fangu said with his left hand behind his back, only stretching out his right hand. Lin Yuyan from Yunhua sect inexplicably felt a disgust towards Zio Fangu when she heard his words. Even she didn't know why. Huo Yunji did not draw the cold light sword given to him by Yi Feng. Instead, he extended his left hand and displayed the perfect stage of the Iron Shield technique, saying, "I want to see what spell you've learned at King Yun's sect and if it can support your arrogance." "You'll experience it." Xiao Fangu's expression turned cold as he made his right hand into a sword and chopped down from above. A dazzling sword light was slashed out at an astonishing speed. Huo Yunji dared not be careless, hurriedly raising his shield to block. With a rip, the shield was nearly cleaved in half. As expected of junior brother Xiao, your comprehension of green cloud sword technique is impressive. After only a short period of practice, you've already reached the perfect stage of the first level, Zai Xinyu said with a smile, her eyes full of admiration and even a hint of adoration. "So it's the King Yun sect's auxiliary cultivation method, green cloud sword technique. Does that mean what we saw just now was King Yun sword chi?" It said that this auxiliary cultivation method specializes in sword chi, making its combat power very strong. The first level perfected, that's significantly stronger than a perfected first-grade spell. It seems Misty Sect's Huo Yunji is no match. Many sect leaders from various forces knew a bit, and just from the first exchange, they felt that Huo Yunji's chances of winning were not great. A perfected spell that's somewhat interesting. Xiao Fangu's expression grew serious. He initially thought he could resolve Huo Yunji with a single sword chi, but to his surprise, he had miscalculated. Vitality bullet! Without any more words, Huo Yunji held the shield in his left hand while pointing with his right. An air cannon blasted out, its speed not slower than the King Yun sword chi. King Yun sword chi, slash! Xiao Fangu split the vitality bullet with his sword chi, then stepped forward, lunging towards Huo Yunji. But Huo Yunji conjured a breeze around his body and easily dodged the lunge. He activated Vitality Bullet and Fire Cloud Palm simultaneously. Your Wind Spirit Steps is also perfected. Xiao Fangu finally showed a change of color, beginning to use both hands, sending out King Yun Sword Chi to meet the Vitality Bullet and Fiery Cloud Palm. With a swoosh, Huo Yunji suddenly disappeared from everyone's sight, causing surprise. The next moment, Huo Yunji emerged from the ground, hitting Xiao Fangu in the chest with a vitality bullet. The impact caused his robe to burst open, making him spit blood and fly backwards into the air, where he hastily drew his Xuan Yi flying sword to ride through the air. So it was the first-grade spell, Earth Escape. You do have quite a repertoire of spells, but unfortunately you can't touch me while I'm up in the air, Xiao Fangu commented, patting his slightly charred chest, eyes filled with hatred. Now it's time to decide the victor. After speaking, Xiao Fangu formed his fingers into a sword, prepared to use overwhelming sword chi to force Huo Yunji into kneeling and conceding. Clang, Huo Yunji finally drew his lower-grade spiritual artifact, the cold light sword, and used glittering sword chi to fly with his sword, confronting Xiao Fangu in midair. Good heavens, Huo Yunji is a sword cultivator too. The audience had thought the great battle was about to conclude, but now it seemed that the main event of this fight had just begun. Do you think that just because you can ride a sword, you're a sword cultivator? I'm going to let you know that our King Yun sect is the true lineage of sword cultivators. Xiao Fangu bellowed, slashing out with sword chi from both hands. Huo Yunji remained silent, mainly defending with the Iron Shield technique and occasionally attacking from a distance with Vitality Bullet. Both were following the path of sword cultivators and dared not engage in close combat recklessly. The sword chi of a sword cultivator is too fierce. Once in close combat, it is incredibly hard to dodge and can easily result in instant death. Although the two did not see eye to eye, it was merely a duel, far from having to fight to the death. For them, draining each other with long-range attacks before seeking an opportunity to defeat the enemy with a single strike was the best strategy for the duel. Huo Yunji and Xiao Fangu flew with their swords in midair, continuously dodging each other's spells and seeking opportunities to attack. The fight evenly matched. Overall, Huo Yunji was at a slight disadvantage. Seeing this, Li Jiao asked with concern, "Sect Master Uncle, do you think second senior brother can win?" Yi Feng himself wasn't sure, but he still maintained his composure, saying, "Yun Jai also has a good understanding of the sword Dao. He can win. Our junior brother Xiao will win." Zai Xinyu of King Yun sect immediately retorted, clenching her fists and focusing all her attention on Xiao Fangu. Bai Minglu had a blade of grass between his teeth, his gaze flickering. As a genius disciple ranked within the top 10 of the King Yun sect, Bai Minglu had long perfected the second layer of the green cloud sword technique, far surpassing his peers in combat ability, and his insight was incredibly sharp. However, he noticed that Huo Yunji was only at a slight disadvantage and showed no signs of collapse. At this stage, it's just a matter of outlasting the other, Long Yui Zhenren murmured at that moment. Zai Xinyu immediately asked for advice. Ninth Elder, do you think junior brother Zio can't defeat the disciple from Misty Sect head-on? Long Yui Zhenren nodded. Fangu's talent in the sword Dao is good, well-suited for cultivating the green cloud sword technique, but his cultivation time is still too short. Although he has perfected the first layer, it is only slightly stronger than a perfected first-grade spell, not enough to utterly overwhelm. That opponent is but a mere disciple of a high-ranked sect, surely lacking any auxiliary cultivation method. Even if it comes down to attrition, junior brother Zio is sure to win. Zai Xinyu had an inexplicable confidence in Zio Fangu. In midair, Zio Fangu stood on the Xuan Yi flying sword. His speed was fast and very agile, repeatedly trying to get behind Huo Yunji but always failing. Vitality bullet! Huo Yunji and Zio Fangu were more than 10 meters apart, continuously attacking with vitality bullets and sneakily making them look large but weak in actual power, pretending to go all out. Ha! Before long, Huo Yunji began to pant heavily. Zio Fangu's eyes brightened. You're finally losing your stamina. I'll knock you down from the sky. He formed a hand seal and cast a first-grade spell called Gathering Cloud Sword, transforming half of his mana into a sword that resembled gathering clouds, 1 meter wide and 5 meters long, cleaving down with a heavy and sharp aura. Whoosh! Huo Yunji accelerated suddenly, piloting the cold light sword towards Zio Fangu, as if deciding to risk a final bout before his own strength was exhausted. Foolish, you won't be able to touch me. Zio Fangu tried to evade but was somewhat slow due to the great expenditure of energy earlier. Seizing the opportunity, Huo Yunji reversed his previous declining state, his aura returning to peak condition, and unleashed his fastest speed, first dodging the gathering cloud sword, attack, then leaping up from the cold light sword. Clang! With no burden of a rider, the speed of the cold light sword surged, streaking like an arrow towards Zio Fangu's chest. This sudden development frightened Zio Fangu, who hastily cast Qingyun Sect's first-grade spell, Green Cloud Sword Shield, to block. Meanwhile, Huo Yunji, who had jumped into the air, cast the spell, Binding Spirit Rope, all of a sudden, using mana ropes to entangle Zio Fangu's body. With a strong pull, he used the force to vault over Zio Fangu's head, spinning and firing a vitality bullet as he did so. Bang! Faced with attacks from both front and back, Zio Fangu finally couldn't fend them off, was struck hard by the vitality bullet, let out a scream of agony, and crashed onto the mountain peak. The Xuan Yi flying sword fell as it lost its controller, embedding itself diagonally in the ground, emitting a pleasant sword cry. In contrast to Zio Fangu's crushing defeat, Huo Yunji calmly landed on the ground, reaching out to catch the falling cold light sword. He stood with his sword in hand, clothes billowing like a young sword immortal. The battle is decided. The deputy city lord stepped forward and declared. After all, Misty Sect was a force nearby Whitefloat City, and he had some acquaintance with Yi Feng. Speaking out now could have a significant impact. As expected. Hearing the deputy city lord's words, Long Yui Zhenren, who was about to speak, closed his mouth, leaning on his cane and huffing in dissatisfaction. Zio Fangu, you've lost. Huo Yunji sheathed his sword, walked over to the Xuan Yi flying sword, pulled it out of the ground, and turned to look at Zio Fangu lying on the ground. Remember this, I'm ashamed to be in the same sect as you. Having said that, Huo Yunji respectfully handed the Xuan Yi flying sword to Yi Feng. With frustration and anger surging to his heart, Zio Fangu violently spat out a mouthful of blood, his hair whipping about in the wind as he slammed his fists into the ground, utterly unwilling to accept his defeat. The Xuan Yi flying sword was merely a lower-grade spiritual artifact, priced at just over 100 lower-grade spirit stones. Not excessively expensive. One could simply buy another if it was lost. However, this battle saw Zio Fangu defeated by the once seemingly unworthy Huo Yunji, his frustration reaching an extreme. Junior brother Zio, are you all right? Zai Xinyu rushed over immediately, helping Zio Fangu retreat to the side. Grinding his teeth and trembling all over, Zio Fangu didn't say a word. I misjudged you, your strength is much greater than I realized. At this moment, Bai Minglu spit out the stalk of grass from his mouth, stepped forward 3 paces with his sword in hand, and gazed intently at Hugh Yunji. "I am the 10th ranked disciple from Qingyun sect Bai Minglu, and I'd like to learn from the most powerful disciple of Misty sect." "Yunji, come back." Yi Feng called him just as Hugh Yunji was preparing to accept the challenge. Bai Minglu's brows furrowed slightly, and he asked in puzzlement, "Sect Master Yi, won't you even grant me the opportunity to learn from my junior?" Bai Minglu's thought process was simple. Xiao Fangu had suffered a loss to Hugh Yunji in full view of everyone, thereby causing Qingyun sect to lose face. It was his duty as an elder brother to step forward at this moment and secure a resounding victory. That way he could leave the field with the poise of the victor. Only to hear Yi Feng say, "In our Misty sect, Yunji's strength is only ranked 3rd. Since you want to learn from the strongest, I as sect master am willing to satisfy your request, but under the condition that if you lose, you must leave immediately." As the word leave exited his mouth, a gust akin to a hurricane swept through the crowd, making everyone feel a heavy pressure. Even Longyuai Zhenren's expression darkened. "If Minglu loses, I, as Zhenren, will personally apologize and will never show our faces here again," Longyuai Zhenren promised in Bai Minglu's stead. Without wasting words, Yifeng waved his hand. "Mo Ying, make it quick and decisive." "Yes, sect master." Mo Ying, with the breeze-riding sword in hand, slowly stepped into the middle of the field, and only then did her cultivation level at the peak of the 8th layer of Qi refinement become gradually apparent. To think that a disciple of Misty sect has reached such a level of cultivation, one more step, and she could stand shoulder to shoulder with the sect leaders of middle-ranking sects. The sect leaders of the major sects felt immense pressure. Some lowered their heads in silence, lamenting that they couldn't even match a single disciple from Misty sect. Xiao Fangu stared at Mo Ying, wondering where Yi Feng had found such a formidable disciple. If he had faced Mo Ying in battle before, he feared he wouldn't have survived 3 moves. Bai Minglu advanced to the field. He began to bend his knees and lower his body, one hand grasping the scabbard, another holding the hilt, as a keen aura like that of swords began to emerge from him. "Brother Bai is serious," exclaimed Ziziniu happily. "He's actually going to use the sword-drawing technique he's been hard practicing for months." Even Longyuai Zhenren smiled. He believed in Bai Minglu's strength. As the 10th-ranked genius of Qingyun sect at the peak of the 9th layer of Qi refinement, below the element-gathering realm, aside from older generations, Bai Minglu was already first class. Xiao Fangu's eyes were wide open, ready to learn from what was unfolding before him. "You are of a lower cultivation level than me, you should attack first," Bai Minglu said to Mo Ying. His sword-drawing technique aimed to strike after the opponent yet arrived before them. Asking Mo Ying to attack first was indeed putting her into a passive situation. "Are you sure?" Mo Ying's voice was cold and somewhat mocking. Then suddenly her figure vanished from sight. Everyone was stunned. Where did she go? Could it be Earth escape again? The crowd hurriedly glanced at the ground, but they couldn't find anything. There was no trace of Mo Ying, not in the sky nor underground. Bai Minglu was on high alert. He had calculated the various routes Mo Ying might take to attack him, and was ready to adjust his position at any moment to directly defeat her with a sword-drawing technique, earning himself a splendid victory. But Mo Ying didn't play by the rules. She vanished into thin air. What's more, it didn't seem to be Earth escape. "No good, I have to take to the air. Staying on the ground is too passive," Bai Minglu thought, preparing to leap up immediately. "Watch out behind you." Just then, Longyuai Zhenren sensed Mo Ying's presence and couldn't help but shout out loud to alert him. Bai Minglu suddenly felt a chill run down his spine and spun around, only to find Mo Ying standing right behind him. At that moment, Bai Minglu's sword was only drawn 3 inches before he sighed, resheathing the sword. "I've lost!" It was only then that the crowd saw Mo Ying holding the breeze-riding sword, its tip an inch from Bai Minglu's back. With just a slight thrust forward, Bai Minglu would have fallen. "Even I nearly failed to react in time, such a fearsome assassination spell," Longyuai Zhenren commented with a serious expression. If he were in Bai Minglu's place, even if not fatal, an ambush would have left him severely injured. "We won. Senior sister Mo is powerful." Compared to the dejection of Qingyun sect and the shock of the other sects, the Misty sect's side burst into cheers. Clang, Mo Ying sheathed her sword and appeared beside Yi Feng, asking, "Sect leader, how was it?" Very fast," Yi Feng nodded, expressing his satisfaction. The spell that Mo Ying had executed was the perfected first-grade backstab, not significant in straightforward combat but exceedingly potent when unexpected. Bai Minglu had lost as soon as he began to draw his sword. The gap in this match was too wide. "Let's go!" Long Yui Zhenren had no face left to stay any longer. "Wait, Long Yui Zhenren!" Yifeng suddenly spoke up. "Aren't you forgetting something?" Long Yui Zhenren clenched his staff tightly, stopping Zai Xinyu about to speak, and turned to look at Yifeng, saying, "Sect Master Yi, it was our mistake to disturb your high-ranked sect's promotion ceremony today. There will be other days we take our leave." Yifeng tactfully leaned back. "Sorry, I'm not interested in that elder position." Long Yui Zhenren's brow furrowed, confused by the remark, and he left Misty Peak with his 3 disciples in tow. The Misty sect is truly formidable, even making Qingyun sect leave in low spirits. But by doing this, the Misty sect has certainly offended Qingyun sect. Sect Master Yi is the chosen one. Is he really afraid of Qingyun sect? Chosen one or not, how could he be a match for the sect master of Qingyun sect? That person is about to reach the 7th element gathering and is a top-tier powerhouse. The sect leaders from various sects began to gossip. Yifeng remained silent. The deputy city lord said to the orchestra behind him, "What are you waiting for? Keep playing the music and proceed with the investiture ceremony?" "Yes, yes, yes." The orchestra promptly resumed their performance. Zhou Jiaqian immediately lifted the Misty Sect's plaque, and Yifeng personally hung it above the gate and unveiled the red cloth with the Xuan Yi flying sword. From that point on, Misty Sect was officially elevated to high-ranked. "Congratulations, Sect Master Yi. Congratulations all around." The scene now began with an exchange of pleasantries amongst merchants. Since each sect had its own secrets, the guests tastefully only stayed in the sect leader's great hall for a short while, sipped tea, presented their prepared gifts, became acquainted with Yifeng, and then departed one after another. "Sect Master Yi, do remember to find some time to come to Nisheng Palace and give some guidance to my good-for-nothing disciples," the Nisheng Palace master said with a warm smile as she was leaving. "Of course," Yifeng nodded. After they had left, Yan Ruyu ran up behind Yifeng and poked his shoulder with her snow-white finger. "What's up?" Yifeng asked. "Who was that person? I find her so scary, like a tigress that might eat someone." Yan Ruyu shrank her neck, looking frightened. Yifeng couldn't help but laugh. Yan Ruyu had completely lost the memories of her past life, but deep down she still inherited the aversion and fear of the Nisheng Palace master. He explained, "Don't be scared, she won't dare to lay a hand on you, and besides, you have me in front of you." "Yeah." Yan Ruyu felt warmth in her heart. At that moment, the deputy city lord gave Yifeng a fist salute and then soared into the sky with Lu Shanyu, leaving Misty Peak. Xin Guangxuan, however, stayed behind. Seeing Lu Shanyu leaving, he heaved a sigh of relief, as if he feared another beating. Before she left, Liu Yuzhai examined Misty Peak and was envious to find that the concentration of spiritual energy here was even higher than in Yunhua sect. "I truly envy you, Sect Master Yi. Not only are you protected by heroic spirits, you've also obtained a spirit vein." Yifeng's eyes flickered slightly. "Elder Yuzhai can tell there's a spirit vein here." "Of course I can tell, although your sect's spirit vein is just the weakest microtype. Even so, it is sufficient for upgrading to a star-level sect. Compared to us, Yunhua sect is falling behind," sighed Liu Yuzhai. Recalling that Yunhua sect was just one step short of becoming a star-level sect, Yifeng asked, "Could it be that your sect has no spirit vein?" "No, we have one," Liu Yuzhai shook her head. "It's just that the spirit vein of our Yunhua sect has been severed. In 10 more years, the spiritual energy will be completely exhausted, failing to meet the promotion criteria for a star-level sect." Liu Yuzhai paused, then said, "I have other matters to attend to, so I'll head back to the sect. Sect Master Yi, if you have the time, you're always welcome to visit Yunhua sect for guidance." With that, Liu Yuzhai, together with Lin Yuyan and the others, took their leave. At the moment of parting, Lin Yuyan gave Hu Yunji a look and waved. "Yunjai, my friend, I still owe you a meal. If there's a chance, I'll treat you another time." As her voice fell, she was already a flying figure in the distance. "Wow, junior brother, a beautiful lady is asking you out for a meal," Shilei said enviously. "But why does no one ask me?" Hu Yunji did not speak. Yifeng, however, laughed. "You're too honest. If you're not a bit more flirtatious, who would ask you out?" "Flirtatious?" Shilei scratched his head and stuck out his rear. "Is that the way, sect master uncle?" Yifeng rolled his eyes and was too lazy to continue the topic. Instead, he looked at Long Zhenchuan and Jia Lian, who were still standing nearby. "Are the 2 family heads planning to stay for a meal?" Xin Guangxuan quickly interjected. "Sect Master Yi, I'd also like to sponge off a meal." Long Zhenchuan glanced at Xin Guangxuan and said to Yifeng, For Tianjing to join Misty Sect is a blessing to my long family. Rather than choosing a date, today might as well be the day. I'd like to treat the whole Misty Sect to a meal. Not to be outdone, Jia Lian said. My daughter Yu Lan is also a disciple of Misty Sect. How can I let Patriarch Long be the only one to treat? How about this, I'll host and you two pay the bill? Yi Feng chuckled. Faced with this unassailable proposal, Long Zhenchuan and Jia Lian were dumbstruck, eventually giving a thumbs up at the same time. A moment later, all the disciples rushed out of Misty Peak, flying toward the busiest restaurant in White Float City. Xin Guangshuan followed gleefully on the side, ready to sponge off the meal. 100 miles from Misty Peak, in the heart of the Faiyan gloomy forest, within the depths of an underground cave, two figures converged. The latest news, Misty Sect has been promoted to a high-ranked sect, and it seems to have a spirit vein inside. It must be infiltrated and severed, said an old Taoist clad in a black robe, his eyes sunken and devoid of pupils, obviously under the effect of the soul control technique. The other person, concealed in the darkness, took a long time before a hoarse voice responded. I have observed the stars at night and foresee that in 3 days dark clouds will cover the sky. That will be the best opportunity to act. Good, at that time, this true person's doppelganger will assist from the side. Combined with the cooperation of the snake and wolf demons, we must sever the spirit vein and strip away the core nucleus, the old Taoist said with a sinister laugh. The piercing voice echoed through the underground cavern, sending chills down the spine.